Rise. Go ahead, Ms. Bird.
Father God, we just thank you. We give your name praise. We give you honor. And we give you glory. We thank you, God, for drawing us together. God, we ask that we will be on one accord, God. We pray for wisdom, God, in our decision making. God, we ask that you bless our first responders, God, those that have authority over us, the President of the United States and those in this party, God. We ask you to be with us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
This is a regular meeting of the Henry County Board of County Commissioners being held on Tuesday, January 14th, 2020 at 6 p.m. at the Pioneer Community Center in Clewiston, Florida. In attendance are Chairman Mitchell Wills, Vice Chair Emma Bird, Commissioner Darrell Harris, Commissioner Michael Swindle, Commissioner Carson Turner, County Administrator Jennifer Davis, County Attorney Mark Lapp, and Interim Clerk Kimberly Fairman.
Thank you, ma'am. First off, I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. It's great to see this much interest in the community, and that's why we're doing these meetings, so we can get out and get more people involved. So thank you for taking the time out of the day to be here tonight. There's quite a few things on the agenda we'll discuss as we go along. So again, thank you for being here, and we're gonna get started. Commissioner, would you like to say anything?
Just real briefly, to the Pioneer community, thank you so much. I fully anticipate I'm probably going to lose 3 to 6 pounds from being chewed on tonight, but I'm ready to accept that. But I want y'all to know, and I don't say this lightly, this is the definition of why, what you're seeing is the personification of why we wanted to take these meetings out of the chambers in Clewiston or LaBelle. And my colleague here, who is the longest tenured commissioner in Hendry County, he aggravates me a little bit because he says we shouldn't do this, but he's just really joking with me about that. He gets as fired up about bringing the government to the people as anybody, right? But I also want to say to Chairman Wills, thank you for moving this to 6 o'clock. This is a ton of working people out here, and these folks, you know, they knew that this would happen. We had a very good meeting last night as well. We talked about a myriad of subjects, and I just want to thank y'all as a board for allowing us to have this opportunity. So I know this takes a huge effort on the administration's part with A and V and all that stuff, so thank y'all for doing that. And I got a handful of things I want to pull, so I'll stop from there. But thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. First thing on the agenda tonight under bids, RFQ 2019-32.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the top-ranked firm. Rock Enterprises, option 1, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Swindle. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chair, I
Motion
did have a
carries.
discussion. I apologize. Do we after we're going to choose them tonight, and then Rock will be moving forward. But Shane, what is the time frame associated with this? Because I'm tired of Mr. Langford looking at me sideways every time he sees me.
For the record, Shane Parker, County Engineer. We're going to enter into a master contract with Rock Enterprises, and then we'll negotiate STAs for the work that's to be defined. I have to meet with the consultant and the constitutionals to find out the scope of work and to clarify it, define it, and then bring that back to you with a fee.
Okay.
And it'll be multiple STAs based on what they want to do.
Are we talking about 6 months, a year, 3 months?
I would say it'd be a month or two maybe to negotiate the scope of work, depending on how detailed it is. Bring it back, and then we'll have a design time frame in. But it could be 6 months to design, it could be 5 months. I don't know, it depends on how large the task is.
You're not gonna drag it out, or?
No, sir.
So potentially we could be 18 months having. Engage in the first round of those conversations to make sure that, you know, we're having the constitutionals and we're getting a banter back and forth.
Absolutely.
Rock can speed it up too.
Good, I need to hire him then.
And Chairman, just to clarify, in case anyone asks, Don Oliver wanted to participate, and so did Chief Nelson with the constitutionals.
Okay,
Great.
thank you, Mr. Parker. We do have one thing we've already pulled. If you look under the C1 under FYI. Not yet. I think Commissioner Turner had more, didn't he?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to pull from consent D1, E4, and F1. D dog.
Oh, I thought you said E. I'm sorry. D1.
Yeah, so that's on the line of credit, Ms. Davis. I was just hoping that you could provide the board a detailed description to what we have available on the total line, what draws we've made thus far, and then what the aging period is with those, because I want us to be mindful of what we're doing with that.
So in summary, and I can provide you detail in an email, but in summary, it was a $6 million line.
Yep.
We've drawn about $1.5 million. Steve, correct me if I say anything incorrect. We can give you a detailed schedule of that $1.5 million of what we've already drawn. Ian keeps a schedule of then contracts that we may not have paid, but we have procured, if you will, so we kind of know where we are. And this is the extension to be able to have another period of time without having to start making principal payments and where we didn't have to pull down what we hadn't used yet.
Yep. I don't know if y'all had any questions.
No. Any questions on that? No.
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Swindle. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. F1?
Yes, no, sir, E4,
We'll need you to talk a little louder down there.
okay,
It's on the
E4.
bad side for me.
The amendment to the State of Florida Department of Environmental Protection, it's essentially the PLUS grant. We're asking for an extension on that, but we were already awarded the funding, right?
For the record, Shane Parker, County Engineer, yes, we were already awarded the funding. This is just an extension of the expiration date and the changing of the grant manager to Tammy.
Did somebody go out of business? Are you worried about performance? What's happening here?
No, we needed more time because we did the due diligence of TVing all the lines, and we found out the areas that had to be replaced, and the board previously approved an STA with Tetra Tech for doing the design repairs.
Uh-huh.
And Danny Nelson's firm's working on that. Hopefully, I'll have design plans to review here in January.
And so what Danny's doing, what Tetra Tech is doing rather, that's all going to be encompassed in this 400K, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
In the
Okay.
600,000, and what's going to happen is repairs we're talking about have to be done, in my opinion.
Mr. Chair, I was just asked, the moment we know that scope and what you're thinking from a standpoint of the grand total, just bringing us alternative ways to make that happen.
Okay.
Unless we feel that that's not a burden that we should even consider. So I just think this is one of those things that we could almost front if we have the funding sources and then once again ask for the DEP, recovery on that. And I think these are right in line with what the state is trying to do right now with water quality, water treatment, all of those things, water quality projects.
They've got so much old stuff out there. Plus, it's the fastest growing right now.
In our county, it absolutely is the fastest growing, and it's perfectly located with regards to having an impact on the Caloosahatchee River, the C43. So I think they would be receptive to us finding the ways, especially if we have a plan.
It's a good water quality project.
So Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to approve item E4.
Second motion.
Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Swindle. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We had C1 under FYI.
I still had
F1.
F1.
I marked that one out. I
It's
have a hard time hearing it here.
The EDC, it's the echo, the acoustics. got to talk to the
Definitely
county.
on one side, it
Yeah.
all helps.
I am too, on both sides, actually. But the EDC lease, the 7th of addendum, we're doing that for a 1-year time frame. If you just look at the paper alone, there's probably a couple $100 of labor associated with that. What do y'all think with, as the representation for the board on the Economic Development Council, I would just ask us to maybe, it's us taking care of us. Are y'all opposed to us making that a 3-year wash or even a 2-year wash? Now what that does is it just gives the EDC the ability to not have to have that even as a discussion item with their board. They can move forward, and I don't think it's a hard ask.
Do the 3-year.
Do the 3-year?
I believe that was a conversation last year. After the first year, we was gonna revisit this, and we were looking at the 3 years, the last conversation I remember with it.
Okay,
Do the 3-year.
okay. So I'll
We need that form of motion.
And just to be clear, it would be both the lease document that's in your packet and the resolution that's in your packet would be amended accordingly.
yes, sir.
I move, make a motion. for
Second.
3-year lease.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Harris and a second by Commissioner Turner. Any discussion on that? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all.
Thank you. Let's try it again. We'll see one now. Under FYI.
Yes, sir. We just need a motion by the board for permission for the chairman to sign the letter.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Turner. Any discussion? Quiet tonight. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, nothing under awards and appearances. We're gonna do that at a later portion, correct? Okay, so we're at the public hearings. Each one of these will be a public hearing, and you will have an opportunity to speak. Do we have the cards here tonight? If you wish to speak, the cards are in the back. If you would, fill those cards out, please, and turn them into to the clerk, and then we'll get you up in order that we receive the cards. There should be a stack in the back there. Number one, petition CPA 19-0005. This is an adoption hearing.
Yes, Commissioners, Margaret Embledge for the record. This is an adoption hearing for a comprehensive plan amendment. The property is going from agriculture to industrial, future land use category. This is the portion of the future runway for the Everglades Airport.
Mr. Chair, and if y'all want to continue to hear Ms. Embledge, I'll just go ahead and make a motion to approve the comprehensive plan future land use and the land use category text and future land use map, and create the new policy that allows for the future land use category.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Turner, a second by Commissioner Harris. This is being a adoption hearing of the public, so does anyone in the public would like to address this at this time? Seeing none. Any further discussion on the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'd also make a motion, Mr. Chair, to approve the attached land development code and amend the existing zoning district and rezoning land to a new zoning district for Airport Operations Plan District.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Byrd. This is also a public hearing. Does anyone in the public would like to speak to this?
Just to be clear, maybe we ought to introduce the application number, just so for the record.
Yes, sir. So,
Well, actually, it doesn't have a number.
yeah, I was going to say it doesn't.
I don't see a number there. I see a petition number, but it says
Just
adoption
adoption of the
hearing only.
ordinance.
Okay, yeah, so we just say, I'll just read the request,
Okay.
just so that it's clear what we're talking about. The applicant is requesting a land development code amendment, amending the Henry County Code of Ordinances, Everglades Planned Industrial District, and creating a new zoning district called Airport Operations Plan District, Zoning District, and rezoning land from APID to AOPD.
Mr. Chair, I just also would add that the LPA voted 7-0 to support that, so.
Okay. Again, opportunity for the public. Anyone like to speak to that? Any further discussion on the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Same thing on the next petition. Its request is annual adoption for the capital improvement schedule, FYI 2019-20 through 24. It's a capital improvement element.
Yes, Commissioners, the purpose of this agenda item is to update the capital improvement schedule. It's something that needs to be done annually. We have provided you with the proposed changes, and if you have any questions, Shane or I are here to answer them.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Turner. This is also a hearing of the public. Does anyone in the public would like to address this?
Shane, why did you scratch J.C. Lyons?
He's trying to hurt your constituents.
Scratch J.C. Lyons, what do you mean?
What is scratched off, got lines?
Everything in the left columns are striked out because they're already funded or done. Those projects, if they're not done, they were funded the prior fiscal year, they fall off, and we're adding new fiscal years.
Okay. And you gotta keep, there's no way you can update the years in any of them? You don't, the
Excuse me?
years.
Put,
Some here, 2023,
Right, those are outer years, and those are projects that are either unfunded, or most of them are projects that are funded by DOT or a designated funding source. But the ones in the earlier years have already been completed, or they're
Okay.
already funded, they're ongoing. Like, for example, LaBelle Airport Rodeo Drive is an ongoing project, it was prior year funding, it's shown as crossed out.
okay.
But it's still ongoing, the money's there, we're just moving the 5-year window down.
Yeah, I think that was what his question was. Could you switch it? Could that window be moved? Could it be moved up, or I think that's what your question
Yeah,
was.
not back up.
Right.
That's a DOT question.
It's, if there's funding for it, but I don't know about any funding for J.C. Lyons. They had sidewalks a long time ago, and that project's done.
Yeah, but they stopped, and it didn't go all the way to the
That
school.
would be a question for the city to request sidewalks to fill that blank in. They would make a request to the Heartland TPO.
Well, how'd it get on our sheet?
Because the capital improvement schedules we show include all the improvements, capital improvements in both cities
Oh, okay.
and for the county.
I noticed you got Fort Thompson on there.
Yes,
Okay.
there's several projects for the city of LaBelle and Clewiston in there for sidewalks.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
And I thought it may be noteworthy, Commissioner Turner, being your district and Mr. Parker, and in the facility we're in on page 17, line 4, LaBelle Henry Recreation to the Pioneer Plantation Community Center, there was quite a bit of money there. You want to kind of expand on what that's intended for?
Well, we listed FERDAP grants on every project, on various projects through the East Rec MSBU, and we did that in case, according to the former grants and project coordinator, if we have money with a FERDAP grant, doesn't mean we're guaranteed to get it, but we need to,
Okay.
we get points if we show it in our capital improvement schedule. So we
Gotcha.
added just placeholders for grants all the way through.
Yeah.
Right. Make sure we have
Good.
it allocated there. Okay.
They hadn't been given FERDAP grants.
They haven't, but you get points if it shows up in your capital improvement schedule.
It's up to the, well, you got a new governor too.
Yeah.
he's definitely not giving any BRDAP grants to Hendry County.
Well, the old one wasn't either.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
just so I'm understanding though, Shane, to a point that you're making, I mean, this is a intended roadmap with a lot of hopes and wishes and dreams. Example being, taking the Everglades expansion. For 2021, y'all have listed 3.3 million. That's just listed as a placeholder. We're gonna request, but there's no guarantee of any sort.
Well, actually, that's correct. We have, for several years now, the board has seen capital improvement schedules with projects for Everglades Airport.
Yeah.
And those cost estimates came from AIA, and that was in case they could get funding or something, it needed to be showed in the capital improvement schedule, and it's shown as unfunded.
Yeah.
And then every year, we just push them out
Yeah.
1 year.
Yep.
So there's no funding for that project.
And so if we had looked into this a year ago, it probably would have been 4.3 because we got the million from last year, so we just pushed it out a year this
Well,
way.
actually, we even reduced it down to
Okay,
that million.
good. You just kept it the way it is,
Just
let it
kept
hold. Gotcha.
Probably.
Because the reality is it's a $12 million ask to do it all, so, okay.
Exactly. And there's several projects for Everglades in there.
Yes, okay. Thank
So
you, Shane.
what makes you think Four Corners, why should it be on here?
Four Corners is gonna happen, Commissioner
It's
Harris, we have
shown
lunch
as-
bet on that.
It's
Yeah.
shown as an unfunded project, and we ask for it, and then if they award points for it being in the capital improvement schedule, bingo, we got it right there, and we can get those
Because
points.
we're on 35 years with
Yes.
Four Corners.
But it
It's gonna
doesn't
get
hurt to
done.
show it.
It's gonna get done.
Gotta have faith.
I don't?
And you're buying me lunch at the courthouse.
Okay.
All right,
If I don't, I'll give you the money.
all right.
Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to D under code enforcement.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is various code enforcement amendments. Most of them are a result of some experience with the special magistrate process and just doing some various cleanup kind of amendments. They're detailed in the memo. I'll go through them if you want me to, or you can just.
Does anybody want to?
What's,
I'm sorry.
what's the deal on Rodriguez?
I'm sorry?
Rodriguez,
The Rodriguez case is going to trial next week.
because it's still messed up.
Right, there's still junk and debris out there.
Yeah, I was there
so-
yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to conduct a public hearing and adopt the proposed ordinance for the code enforcement amendments.
Second.
We got a motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Harris. This is a hearing of the public, so is there anyone in the public that would like to speak to this, the code enforcement ordinance amendment?
What is the amendment?
Yes, sir.
It's quite a few.
You can give it to him.
Do you want me to go through them?
Please.
Okay, so the first one is we have a section of our code regarding abandoned property, and it's in sections 1-1018 and 1-1020 of our code. And currently, the method of enforcement is the county staff go out and like retrieve the property and sell it, and then use the proceeds of the sale of the property to pay ourselves back for our expense in cleaning up the property. So that's the process laid out in that section of the code, and we want to be able to handle those kinds of cases through the special magistrate, through county court, or through an independent lawsuit. So this expands the options for enforcement to include those other methods. The second amendment is to clarify our right to obtain injunctive relief when we file an independent lawsuit, and to also clarify that when we file an independent lawsuit, we can recover the same civil penalties that we can recover through the county court citation process. Third amendment is to allow for the special magistrate process to be used for building code violations. The way the code is written right now, it says that it cannot be used for those kinds of violations. And the fourth change is to make it clear that for special magistrate hearings, when we can choose to publish or post notice of the hearing, we do it by mail already, but we can also do it by newspaper publication or posting. The code says the special magistrate decides that, which is really that was just a mistake that it says that. I mean, it's the staff who do all the publishing and posting, so that's just really correcting that mistake. So that's the amendments.
Good.
Only one quick question, the third one.
1 second. We don't have any way to.
This one,
Yeah.
here.
No, it's fine. All we need you to do when you come up to speak, if you would, just state your name and then whatever the questions are. You're fine. Come on up. There's a mic right here you can grab and
Yeah, I just wanted to be a little bit more clear about the third amendment.
State your name.
state your name for the
My name is
record.
Alvin Cooknell, 1160 Tampa Avenue.
Thank you, sir.
And I was wondering about the third amendment, how that would affect us here. The first one sounds fine about you taking the trash and keeping the proceeds.
Yeah.
The last one about the, posting, that sounds fine too. I just wasn't quite clear about the third one.
Okay, so that's the one where we can use the special magistrate process for building code violations. That's what that is
Yeah,
the third
that's
one.
the one.
Okay, so we've just started using the special magistrate process and for doing code enforcement before it went to the county judge. And so the ordinance that we've drafted and the board adopted in August for implementing that process included a clause that said we would not take building code violations before the special magistrate, that it was all other code violations would go in front of him, but not the building code violations. And so that was, I can just say, we copied Charlotte County's ordinance. They did similar amendments a year ago, and so I just copied theirs, and then it included that exception: don't take building code violations for magistrate. Excuse me, don't take building code violations before the magistrate. And then when we started working on this, preparing our cases on it, we met with Charlotte, and I just asked, what's that about? And they really didn't have I don't mean to criticize them, but their answer didn't make sense to me. And it seems like we ought to be able to pursue code enforcement through the magistrate process for building code violations. So the building code says what it says, and it requires various standards for construction, permits, the quality of construction, et cetera. And so if there's a violation, we have to have a way of enforcing it. And we can do county court, but this is to make it clear that we can use the special magistrate process, which is where we're taking all our other code enforcement cases. We're taking it before the special magistrate instead of the county judge. And so, and if you don't know.
I understand, so if it's something that is unreasonable with the magistrate, could it then go to the court or it could be decided by?
Okay, so if you're cited, or somebody is cited for a building code violation, it goes in front of the magistrate, and he's an independent third party. He's supposed to be like a judge. He is not a judge, but he's like a judge. He's supposed to hear both sides and make a ruling based upon what's fair and right. The landowner has a chance to state their case and present evidence and argument, and you may convince them that you're right and the staff is wrong. So that's available for landowners to make their case. And then if you disagree with the magistrate's ruling, you can appeal to the court.
Okay,
Yeah.
then, yeah.
Okay.
Everybody?
Then the judge would make a decision?
Right. It wouldn't be the county judge, it'd be the circuit judge. It's just the nature of appeals is that goes to the circuit court. But that judge it'd be an appeal. It wouldn't be like an original case to hear it all over again. He'd be deciding if, based on the record, the decision was right or not.
Right, okay.
Okay, any further questions? Discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry, no, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. E, under golf cart operation ordinance amendment.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you discussed this at your last meeting where Ms. Byrd had asked that the ordinance be amended to allow for nighttime operation of golf carts. As you know, you adopted the ordinance about a year and a half ago. The ordinance allows golf cart operation in areas that are designated by the board by resolution. So far, the only areas you've designated by resolution that are available for the golf cart operation are Harlem, with some exceptions. Some streets are off limits, but most of Harlem is open for that. And state law provides that golf cart operation has to occur during the day only, unless the local government determines that nighttime operation is appropriate and certain equipment is, that the cart is equipped with certain equipment, and that is headlights, brake lights, turn signals, and a windshield. And so this amends the code to say if you have that equipment, you can drive at night on those roads in Harlem. So that's the proposal.
Well, this is strictly addressing Harlem, is that correct?
It's strictly addressing Harlem.
Just clarifying for the public, because there's a lot of questions about it, so.
Yeah. It's strictly addressing Harlem for now because your ordinance says the only roads that are open for golf cart operation are the ones you've designated by resolution.
Right.
And the only ones you designated by resolution so far is Harlem.
If we adopted others, it would cover those as well.
Yeah, so if you decide some other neighborhood in the county ought to have golf cart operation later, like a year from now, then this nighttime operation provision would allow nighttime operation in that other area that you adopt.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
You just use a year from now as a reference. It could be 45 days, it could
Oh,
be
yeah.
60 days. I mean, it doesn't matter. There's no
Oh, yeah.
time frame associated with.
Just ordinance, well,
Do we
there's
have
not a
to hold a
specific
public
time.
hearing?
We may have to do a public hearing. Let
Okay.
me check on that. But it wouldn't be more than 45 days at the most.
Okay.
Even if we had to do a public.
Okay.
Because they're already using them anyway, all over the county.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I know the city are using, but one of the things that's not in the ordinance is that I would love to see them have license because it is a issue, if they're gonna operate at night. I didn't see it in case I overlooked it. If it's after dark, that way we don't have minors driving at
What kind of
night.
license would you have? What kind of license?
License,
Golf cart license?
driver's license, because at night, they already pulled, you have youth in the daytime. I think it's at the age of 14, but I really would want them on the streets at night, you know.
You're talking about driver's license?
Just the golf, yes, for the golf cars only at night. That's not in the daytime. It's just nighttime driving. Only thing that I'm asking to change is to be able to drive at night, and that we make sure that they have some type of stipulation of age.
Mr. Chair, this was probably, I'd say this was 85% of the conversation that we had last night here. I've attended at least 2 meetings out here as well where this has been the whole crux of the discussion. You know, I was reading through this, Ms. Byrd. Ms. Byrd, we started this off of your suggestion for a 1-year pilot program, isn't that right? And basically, I mean, it was just you listening to your constituency base and also recognizing that a lot of those people were driving golf carts anyway. You wanted to make it right, correct? Well, that was part of a conversation that happened last night, and I've had a couple conversations since then. You know, I don't want to delve into this for a terrible amount of time tonight as it pertains to Pioneer specific, but I'm embarrassed that I didn't realize we had put an exception in there for Georgia and Lewis and other things, and it makes sense because high traffic areas.
It's, because the state said that if it's over 25 miles per hour,
Yes,
it
ma'am.
would not operate.
Yep, and that's the exact conversation that's being happened out here for a number of months, if not years now. So, with this board's blessing, I want to ask for staff to help coordinate a workshop. I want it to be on a weeknight, time certain, and I want this to be the only agenda item that we discuss. And Mark, I don't know if this is something that we need to vet with Jennifer. We need to vet with Pioneer first, and then bring it to board level, or if this is something that needs to be a board level discussion instantaneously. I'd like to hear from y'all on what you think on that.
Why don't you vet it with Pioneer and then bring it to the board?
Okay.
Because we want to hear what they got to say.
Okay.
Well, we're here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And maybe if we could, if y'all would be amenable to it, I'd love to kind of push this issue quicker.
I'd love to do it tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't really, we need to, it has no bearing on what we do with this item.
Yeah.
We probably ought to put this to bed and
Yes, sir.
address that. And
Yes, sir.
we're here,
Yep.
this crowd is here for that. Let's.
Yeah, we got quite a bit
Go
of
down the road.
Well, I'd love,
interest in it. So.
as we move to business by district, I want this to be vetted for a good little bit, if y'all would be receptive to that, so.
Sure.
But in the interim, Ms. Bird, did you already make a motion?
No, I have not yet,
Okay.
because there was something missing, the age. So if I make the motion, I need to make sure that the age is correct with license or with the permit. I'm not quite sure which one would be the best, so I'm asking the board to direct me on, is it necessary for them to have a license? But it's after dark. In the daytime, it's only at the age of 14.
Ms. Bird, would you just want to say, for the time certain, just make it a driver's license or an active, permit? I don't know how you get into that. Obviously, policing of it is going to be difficult.
Because we don't have to have permits,
Yes, ma'am.
for the golf carts and hollering as you do in the city.
Yep.
So we don't have to have permits, and I would just say with the driver license after dark.
Okay.
Can you add that to that, Mark?
Can I motion?
I'll second that motion with the amendment.
So to be clear, your current ordinance, and it's a section that wasn't, a paragraph that was not proposed for amendment, so it's not written out here, but I'm reading it to you. It says, persons under the age of 14 may not operate golf carts. So that's your current restriction.
Right.
Under 14. So 14 can.
Right.
14 and 15 can currently. And so your proposal is still allow 14 and 15-year-olds to operate in the daytime, but for nighttime, say you have to be a licensed
Right.
driver.
So you can add that?
That's fine. You can add
We
that
can pilot
to.
for a year and see how that works. How
Year
that
goes
plays.
by in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
And so, with this, you're gonna have some equipment, requirements.
Yes.
Well, you did have the yeah.
So are you gonna implement any type of inspection, or or just if they, at night, they don't have it, they're gonna get a ticket, or how's that gonna work?
They gonna get a ticket.
Okay.
There's a ticket.
I mean, because if they wanna operate, they do know there's certain standards that they have to have. So they do know about the flash in the back, the lights. I mean, I know some of it's common sense, but once we put it on paper and present it to them, then they will know.
Right.
Okay, just to clarify then, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take care of this, put it to bed, then we're gonna reopen the discussion with Pioneer, is that correct? Or we're gonna have
Yeah, well,
I've got quite a bit of interest in this topic, so,
Yeah.
which,
Well-
this doesn't pertain to Pioneer. So
Right.
we could go ahead and take care of this
I'd say we ought to
process.
do this.
And then go ahead now and open up the Pioneer side of it. If Commissioner Swindle, is that what I understood?
Yeah, at the appropriate time, we probably ought to do it under.
Well, we haven't got a lot left, so we're getting
Right,
there.
yeah.
Do that.
Yeah, if y'all would be, I thought to do it business by district, because we're gonna zip through the rest of that stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, the reason I'm asking that question is we've got a lot of people that want to speak.
Yes, sir,
And
absolutely.
once we go through this process, I want to make sure they're going to get the opportunity to speak.
100%.
So I propose that we take the ordinance that's already proposed, add on to it the appropriate age, the license, the lights, the way it's worded right now is add the age.
Second and second time.
Okay, just to be clear, you said the age and the license. I mean, you can't get the license till you're 16, so do we just want to say have a valid Florida operator's license? Because the age is kind of taken care of by the license.
Okay. So, the situation then, what we're gonna do is we're going to take care of the business for Harlem. This is gonna be for Harlem. Each one of you that have a paper in, we're going to come back. This really isn't pertaining to Pioneer yet. So what we'll do is we'll take care of this, and then further down the line, Commissioner Turner's gonna open that, and each one of you will have your opportunity to come up, and we're gonna have that discussion tonight. So does everybody fully understand what's going on? We're not leaving anybody out. We're gonna take care of Harlem. This only pertains to Harlem. Then we'll come back to you. Does everybody understand that?
We have 5 other items that we gotta touch on.
Sir?
We got 5 other items we're gonna.
Okay. And it's growing. Okay, so, again, this is a public hearing. So anyone in the public would like to address this? Again, this is just pertaining to Harlem. Any further discussion on the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for your understanding. We'll get to you in just a few moments. We've got a couple more things to go, and then we will have this discussion. That brings us to staff reports.
Yes, sir. The first item I have is the approval of the extension director, Mr. Craig Frey from the University of Florida. You all got an email, and also it's before you with a letter. Thank you.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Turner. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Is he here?
He is not, but Sonia is here from the extension office if you have any questions.
My man. I heard that.
Okay.
I have 2 add-ons really quickly. We have 2 proclamations that the chair will read.
Sir?
Did we vote on that?
I didn't hear.
That didn't require action, did it?
The,
Did we vote on
the
I thought we did.
extension-
it? Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
Good.
Okay, we do have the 2 proclamations. We'll start with the one tonight for human trafficking. If you haven't been aware of this, it's something it's nationwide, but it's also in Henry County. The crews for the county have been going through different trainings to actually notice different things that would take place as far as human trafficking. You think maybe not in my backyard? Yeah, it can happen in your backyard. We want to make sure we're protecting our children. All those children, they're our children. If they're in the public and we see them, we should be watching. It's not just children, though. I can tell you from experience in the last couple months, we've had grown women who were leaving an establishment. They were approached. A couple was approached and tried to be drug into a vehicle. This is taking place in Henry County, folks. So this is really important. It's something that I feel that we need to really be alert to. So the proclamation reads, whereas human trafficking is a crime against humanity that violates the most basic human rights, Florida has the 3rd highest call volume to the National Human Trafficking Resource Center in all 50 states. Whereas human trafficking occurs when an adult or a child is recruited, harbored, obtained, or exported through force, fraud, coercion, purpose of exploitation, forced labor, involuntary servitude, debt bondage, and other methods of slavery. Whereas the United States each year has as many as 100,000 to 300 American children at risk of being trafficked or commercial exploitation of girls and boys in the commercial trade as young as 11 years old. Whereas the Florida Department of Health and Henry County of Local Communities unites to combat this modern-day slavery and bring things to nonprofits, government, and private sector businesses in prevention, prosecution, education, and awareness efforts to restore freedom and dignity to the survivors. Therefore, the Henry County Board of County Commissioners, Henry County, Florida, does hereby proclaim January 2020 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month. This is duly considered and adopted by the Henry County Board of County Commissioners the 14th day of January 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Harris and a second by Commissioner Turner. Is there any further discussion on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Again, folks, when you hear those numbers, it's kind rehabilitation, Americanism, children of youth, and whereas the American Legion has played a leading role in initiatives and breakthroughs that affect the lives of Americans in every community, from U.S. flag code to the GI Bill. Whereas Post 130 has fulfilled the Legion's mission since 1944 through programs such as Americanism, education, children, and youth. Whereas the American Legion is celebrating its centennial in 2019-2020. Therefore, be it resolved by the Hendry County Commission of Hendry County, LaBelle, Florida, proclaim January 25th, 2020 as American Legion Centennial Day. A witness whereof, I have underset my hand and caused the official seal of LaBelle on this 14th day of January 2020. Duly considered and adopted by the Board of County Commissioners, January 14th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Harris and a second by Commissioner Turner. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That's something else we should all take pride in. These men and women have given their life that we have the freedoms that we have, whether on foreign or American soil. They still today protect our rights, and they deserve all the respect and honor that we can give them. Let's see. Bless you. Mr. Lapp.
So this next item is relating to the Southwest Florida Regional Planning Council. At your tentative budget hearing back in September, you expressed a desire not to have to pay the dues anymore.
Mr.
And
Chair, you ready to do that? Is that what you want us to do?
We're gonna do it.
Okay, so I make a motion to withdraw from the Southwest Florida Regional Planning Council
Second.
from a dues-paying member perspective.
yes, right. And
Right.
specifically the resolution
Yeah.
attached that says
Yeah,
all that.
I'll still be attending the meetings throughout the next year that we have to give a year's notice on this. I guess you guys read that, so.
Yeah.
I'll still be attending the meetings and just see what's going on with Henry County on that portion.
Mr. Chair, do they have anything going to Tallahassee this year with regards to requests for funding? Do you think they'll be around in 18 months, 2 years? What are your thoughts?
I really can't answer that. I know that quite a few counties have already withdrawn. They do not attend the meetings, either by phone or in attendance, so I really don't know what the status of that's gonna be. I know we had talked about moving to the Heartland Planning Council, and I'm not sure what's gonna take place yet, Mr. Turner.
How many counties attend?
We have a hard time having a quorum every meeting.
But there's 6 counties, I believe, and is ultimately 36 elected
Yeah,
municipalities.
you have city and
governments.
county, that's correct.
Does Lee attend?
Some,
Yeah.
some,
Okay.
not every meeting. Sarasota counties, Charlotte counties, they've all,
Yeah, they've all been out.
right.
Okay.
So, we had a motion. Mr. Parker,
Thank you, Chairman. The item I have before you is bring it for you every year. It's the work program priorities for DOT. And I have one letter to the Heartland TPO, but actually 2 letters will be going out, one to Heartland and one to DOT. And I'd like to go through them in individual sections like I do every year. So the first one is FDOT Capital Improvement Highway Capacity Projects. And once again, I'm looking for the board's endorsement of asking for construction funding for State Road 29 from Spencer Lane to just north of Cowboy Way, and for design dollars from State Road 29 from County Road 832 to Spencer Lane. The reason I picked these 2 is because 29 from Spencer Lane to north of Cowboy Way is the furthest along in the design. It's like at 60% plans. The other ones are 15%, 30% plans. I haven't even got a copy of them. And the design segment has not been funded for the segment from 832 to Spencer Lane. That would be the next obvious choice to have. So I'm looking for endorsement of that.
So those two, so you, we'll make that in the form of a motion to get that letter out, because it's not with us, so we're gonna draft that and send it accordingly, have the chair sign it.
Nope, I just sign it.
Okay.
I just want a consensus on the items, and at the end,
Those 2 items.
Is
Yes,
that
sir.
5 miles?
I don't recall how many miles, but it's a pretty good length.
Okay.
The
I
next,
make that motion to approve the recommendation as presented by the county engineer.
Second.
how involved with that are we, Mr. Parker?
with these funding projects,
No, well, just in the design portion, we were gonna have a voice in that, or?
we comment on turn lanes, missing sidewalk segments, flow capacity of culverts. We provide input and their engineers look at it. And we've been pretty vocal about this segment. We have not agreed on all the full median openings, but we have been diligently giving our comments.
Yeah, I was just curious where we was at. I knew we had quite a few that
There's been
didn't
no-
make a whole lot of sense, and we were trying to work through that. The couple of public hearings they had in town, we had quite a few folks that lived down there, and they were there speaking, so I was just curious, you know, how much input we are getting in that.
They made changes at Rodeo Drive
Okay.
to accommodate,
Yeah,
can't think of it,
but
Porterfield.
we'll,
Right,
Porterfield.
the bulk
Can't-
plant there.
And they couldn't make changes at Wilson due to the intersection at Helms, and then they would not make the changes we asked for at Case and Evans, of having 2 full median open.
But they did fix it where the big trucks could turn.
Yes, they did provide bulb outs, but we haven't, that was what they're.
On
going
both
to do.
sides, 29.
Yeah, where you come out of
He's not
Evans,
saying yes,
It's on the west side. 'cause
just on the west side.
Right.
when you
the
come
roads
out
are
with
only
them
on the
big
east side.
trucks,
Okay.
you can
But
turn
we,
back.
we haven't got 90% planned yet. They agreed to those changes, but we haven't got the final.
What about your roundabouts?
There's no roundabout in this phase that we're asking for construction.
Thank
That
you,
one hasn't
Jesus.
even started design yet.
Because
Such a
it-
roundabout hater, man.
yeah, 'cause
I'm not a roundabout fan. I believe they should keep those over there in Europe where they started with the dadgum things, and that's where I believe they need to
They got them in
stay.
Lehigh too.
The question I would have there, Mr. Parker, just out of curiosity, I know we've had this discussion down 80, would maybe be a service road in certain areas there to pick up Case and Evans Road where people aren't driving all the way around to go one direction or the other. Would that be something that could be,
We can ask, it doesn't show up in the plan, but we.
no,
can
I know,
ask.
I know we've talked about down 80, and I know maybe people have different, you know, names and terminology for those roads. But there's only a few areas that would come into play. In Case and Evans, the traffic that's down those 2 roads, you know, school buses, everything. There's a lot of traffic there, so if we could figure out some way to accommodate that,
Okay.
I think we really need to work on those 2 for sure.
Mr. Chair.
Safety-wise, I mean,
If they could
again,
get off on Wilson and go down.
not the Case and Evans, they won't.
No, I meant go all the way.
Well, Case and Evan has a bus that runs down it every day, and
Yeah.
you guys are aware of we've already had a death on that road. We've had a gentleman ran over walking his dog on that road. We have a lot of issues on Evans Road itself. So it's not my district, but that's my friends and the people I live with. So we need to try to make sure that we're accommodating that and keeping that in mind.
We had a packed house just on Case and Evans.
That's correct.
One night. That was solely speaking to that issue. So, let me ask you this, Mr. Chair. Shane, does a service road, I don't know this, does a service road justify itself off of traffic counts? Or is it volume of population that it serves? How does that work?
You can put a service road in without having the volume if you say the future build out.
We'll
Trying
meet
to-
it.
Right, you're trying to eliminate congestion at the intersection or eliminate connections.
Well, I think that's a very prudent thing by the chairman then, because, you know, I don't know how far Rodina extends down south or anything, but he's not looking at it from a 365 days or even 9 or 10 years out. He's looking at it 25, 30, 40 years out, but it's a problem right now.
Right.
You know, so I think that would be great. It'd be a very prudent conversation to at least have, Shane, with FDOT.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Okay.
Did you say you was gonna work on sidewalks?
That's further down on the list.
Okay. Because, you know, one time you said you didn't like it.
There's sidewalks on that.
There's
side.
no, when you get on those 2 roads, the only place you can walk,
Wait your turn.
you can only walk, hush.
This cat wants his whole district to be sidewalk before anybody else gets a sidewalk.
Wait his turn.
Yeah, the only place
He's
you
gonna issue
go,
everybody scooters,
you can walk down the
the little
road.
ones you stand on.
Maybe more knee surgery, maybe hip. Okay, so we did have a motion. I'm sorry, who made the motion?
I think,
Was it Commissioner Harris and you seconded it?
yes, sir.
We
That's
have a
what
motion
happened.
by Commissioner Harris, second by Commissioner Turner. Yes.
I made the motion and you seconded it.
Okay.
All right.
The, Mr. Parker prepared a letter that has every one of these issues in there. I don't know if you intend to take a separate vote on every single component, or you could just, at the end of the whole thing,
No,
do it.
Yeah, I
let's just
think
do
we
it at
just-
the
yeah.
end. So we'll wait until you give us the rest of the presentation, but essentially it's those next items on the transportation alternatives, correct?
No, sir, it's the county incentive grant program.
The
This is-
SIGP.
Yes, sir, the
Do
project
we need
that we
to, I
have.
mean, does anybody have any questions on that? Are you required to go over it? Because the gist is it's Ford Drive and Helms Road intersection.
Yes.
You need to tighten up. That's the gist of the conversation, right?
And I anticipate that we're gonna get funding, but it's not in the 5-year work program. I've been informed by DOT it's a great project. They just couldn't fund it this current fiscal year, so it'll be a few years out, I just don't know when. But I wanna keep it on the list, let them know that we're still interested, until it's in that draft program.
What do you think about number 4? What, have they made any comments on that?
I'm sorry, sir.
Number 4, have they made any comments?
He doesn't want to say
on
the
that?
word sidewalks again. He's been chastised.
Okay, I
He wants sidewalks on Case and Evans.
Moving down to transportation alternatives and enhancement projects. I have 7 items there.
I love you.
The top 4 are ones that were on your list from last year. The number 1 sidewalk project that's listed, which was from Cowboy Way to just east of Amanda Street, it's a missing sidewalk segment. That's gonna be funded by DOT for design dollars in 24-25, and I suspect construction dollars will come thereafter, once design's coming in. Items 2, 3, and 4, the ones you previously approved, which is Harlem Academy Boulevard, sidewalk along that road from 12th to 13th. Sidewalk along Davison Road from County Road 835 to Sonora, that's to replace the damaged sidewalk. And then we have the sidewalk segments along Evans and Case where required.
I'm sorry, Shane, on Davidson from 835 to Sonora.
North side of Davison Road, the sidewalk's heavily cracked.
Goes all the way to the
Trucks.
front of the high school, east and west.
Okay, but we still don't have the one going from
Actually, yes. that's correct.
Davidson to Hooker's Point?
We have a sidewalk
Okay.
on the north side of Davison, but it's heavily cracked up in dump trucks.
No. On where Davidson runs east, that east-west runner, so from Davidson to Hooker's Point Road.
There's a sidewalk there. There's a sidewalk on the north side all the way from the gas.
I'm
station.
sorry. I'm sorry. Not on, so where Davidson and Hooker's Point are,
Right.
parallel with 835.
There,
There is not.
going north of the station, I think there's a sidewalk segment somewhere.
Going north of the station at Shamrock.
Right.
So
But
you made
going
me say it for a
south.
4th time.
But going
So,
south.
Okay, thank you for acknowledgement of that.
You want?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Sidewalk, County Road 835, south.
South of Shamrock, all the way to, as long as we can get on Evergreen Road.
Okay, Hooker's Point, you can add that.
While you're on that portion right there, on Cowboy Way, where it crosses at 40 Drive and Cowboy where it crosses, wasn't there supposed to be a way to cross that without going in traffic?
There is, we got a design contract with Johnson that I've got to negotiate for doing the whole intersection improvements there. To extend the box culverts north and south,
Right.
to get rid of the power pole in the northeast corner, so you turn out, the intersection's skewed, we need the sidewalk crossing, there's a lot that has to go on there.
Right, so
That's-
that is in the,
That's in the works.
okay.
And then we don't have construction funding, that's gonna be funded by Road and Bridge, doing some minor design work, and then once we get a cost estimate, try to position ourselves for funding, and try to go after SIGB dollars on that one too, or Scott.
Okay.
We have added a sidewalk segment along 11th Street from Mississippi Avenue to Harlem Academy. This seemed to be a needed sidewalk in the Harlem community, and I think it positions ourselves well within the Heartland TPO to get funded, because it fills in a missing segment, connects to the library and a park, and I think we can score well with other counties. And then I added a multi-use path along Forey Drive from Cowboy Way to State Road 80. That's in the segment where we just repaved Forey Drive. West Rex building a park there, trying to fill in a missing link between Cowboy Way and State Road 80. They're gonna have to be heavily utilized. And then we also asked for a wall sign for the Harlem community on Lewis Boulevard. And that's it for transportation.
Ms. Bird, are you envisioning that, Mr. Chair? Ms. Bird, are you envisioning that like adjacent to the city, or like where the existing one is,
Well, we have
the old
not,
school by the church?
originally it would have been where the city is.
Gotcha.
But
They
because their
stuck.
plans had been in 5 years.
Yeah.
So now we have to come up with another area, so.
Gotcha. I like it.
Any other
Right.
questions on transportation alternatives enhancements?
Yes, sir.
Moving on to SCOP, Small County Outreach Program. There's no new projects here, the same 5 projects. I just want to point out that one of them, number 1, got funded in fiscal year 2021, and that's County Road 78 from just west of Hidden Hammock to Kirby Thompson Road. And then I've got another segment which I expanded on, which is SCRAP, Small County Road Assistance Program. I'd like to point out that Henry Isles Boulevard from State Road 80 to Arcadia got funded in the draft 5-year work program that just came out, fiscal year 23 through 24.
Yeah, so essentially I lied last night. I said I thought it was an 18-month window, and that's why we had not repaired the patch on the road there, but I was incorrect in making that statement. But it is funded. Now we just got to work on trying to push that up. Very difficult to get done, but just so everybody knows, that'll be from 80 to Arcadia. So,
And then on that list, for scrap, I added Sears Road, and I broke it up into two segments, from State Road 29 east 2 miles, and then from State Road 29, from 2 miles east to State Road 29 to 3.9 miles east of State Road 29. And then Pinecone Avenue, I bumped it down below Sears Road because it's not in as bad a condition as Sears Road, but I broke it up into two segments compared to what you saw last year to position ourselves better for obtaining funding. And that is all I have for the letter of list of priorities. I'd like to get board and vote on it so I can submit it.
Shane, did I
Yes, sir.
miss it on here? Portino Road from the bridge to 80, it's not on here?
No, sir, it's not on here because DOT's already funded that project. A couple board meetings ago, I want to say it was November, this board approved the funding agreement. And the last board meeting in December, the board approved the contract with Johnson Engineering for the design from Fortino Bridgeway to 80. And so that project, they've already started surveying. And then the other segment of Fortino Road from Huggett's back to 80 is on this list. It's the second one under scrap.
Because that road's falling apart again.
Yeah, but different contractor, right?
Well, I don't have a contractor lined up. Yeah.
Different
Hopefully-
contractor, right?
I hope.
Just make sure it's a different one.
Yeah, we need to make sure it's a different fella. Okay, so we had the motion, we had the second. Do we need to do that again to encompass the rest of this, or do you want us to
Yes.
amend it?
Yes.
so I'll just amend my motion to take in everything that we spoke of with regards to transportation alternatives, SCOP, and scrap.
Second.
Okay, again, motion by Commissioner Turner, second by Commissioner Harris. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Chairman. I have one thing to add to Commissioner Turner. Commissioner Turner, you mentioned about the burn dip. You thought it was with this project. What you're thinking of is the miscellaneous resurfacing project. That's been advertised. It should be in the paper this Wednesday or Thursday.
So,
And we're doing several
Yes.
road segments. Now,
Yeah.
I want to inform the board that we're doing different road segments than what I previously told you on the 12-year plan. That's due to conditions of the road changing. And just to recap, that's, we're doing Midstate Loop Road, Tammy, Melissa, Sassy, and Richmond in Hookers Point, Forestry Division Road in South LaBelle. That's from the transfer station back to the EMS, the large trucks, trucks, garbage trucks are just killing the road. We're doing Henry Isles Boulevard, the wetland area, we're redoing that. There's a bad dip just north and south of Arcadia, the burn spot, and then we got several sections of Henry Isles where there's old farm ditches and culverts are getting dips. And we're just gonna patch those segments until the road resurfacing project money comes from DOT. And we got County Road 78, we got a dip at Jack's Branch Bridge, we got a dip by Hidden Hammock by the slaughterhouse. And then we've got Carlisle Street, Huggett's, which was on the board's list to do. County Road 832, we had several segments where we had bad sub-base, and Road and Bridge has been working out there since December through January, repairing the areas to get them ready for paving. And I've also got a segment on A Road that's bad, and that's the road that if the prices come in correct, that's the roads we're planning on doing.
What
check
about,
funding source for that.
what about
County
Alice?
Transportation Tax Fund, gas tax.
What about Alice Street?
Alice Street, we still
Alice.
have, yes, sir. Alice Street's not gonna make it because I gotta do some drainage work and some insulation of pipes,
Okay.
but it will be forthcoming. So that's, just wanna provide
Quite a few of those roads I'm glad to hear. I've received quite a few calls in the last week concerning 832, the patches. So I guess we probably need to put an eyeball on them, make sure, from what I understand, they're in pretty bad shape.
They are, we had, the sub-base clay balls were at the bottom that was causing
Yes.
the asphalt to fail. And so Road and Bridge has been fixing them, and we're coming back and touch them up, and then when they come out, we're actually gonna do whole lane widths for several sections.
Yeah, historically, that's been a problem for many years. Just that portion of road through there, we've replaced the base, the sub-base, and that's been done so many times. So hopefully, maybe it'll last a few more years. Okay. So,
That's all I have.
did we vote on that? We did.
We did,
So we're
sir.
done with that. Okay. That's all I see on the agenda. The hearing of the public will open in just a moment. We're gonna take care of this. So, actually, let's just dive in. Let's start with that. We have a drainage meeting that will take place after we finish this portion of the meeting. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open, Commissioner Turner, you said you had a conversation last night. Do you wanna kind of,
Yes, sir. So the gist is, we had a number of people that spoke, and as typical of Pioneer, everybody's impassioned about the issues that they're convicted with. I don't know if y'all can help me. I don't know if it was 12, it may have been 18 months, it may have been 6 months ago. We had a very large community meeting out here on a Saturday. Had a number of people that signed up to speak. The whole gist of that discussion was, how do we make either ATVs, for side-by-sides, or golf carts essentially able to be used in the Pioneer community. A lot of different banter back and forth, a lot of conversation pros and cons, a lot of conversation that was had privately. People asking, I really don't want to speak, I don't want to be against my neighbor out here, but, I want you to know how I feel. And then a ton of people that said, I'll speak privately or publicly, but the gist is I want to be able to ride my side-by-side. I live in a rural community, and I'm a responsible person, I'm a tax-paying citizen, I want to be able to engage in the infrastructure that I help pay for. Last night, I thought that it was one of the more productive conversations that I've been a part of since I've been elected since 2008. And I've attended a ton of meetings since 2006 out here. And Jose, Mr. Green, Mr. Pro, isn't it, Mr. Pro? Porth, Mr. Porth. Very valid points, all of them. And the pilot program that you have created in Harlem, Ms. Bird, was referenced more than once. The Florida Statute 316 was also thrown out. Why did the county exempt itself? Why are we creating a new set of rules for an area? And just trying to take all of that into consideration. What I asked and what was asked of me was, could we make this an agenda item? I said, we can't add it to the agenda per se, but I know the chairman. He's going to allow people to speak to any issue that they want to speak to, because this is just as much your board as it is mine, and we're not a dictatorship in any way, shape, or form. So I asked people to come back again and let's have this conversation. Commissioner Swindle, I kind of heard from you that you want to queue it up and move forward with some version of resolution tonight. I'm all about having a conversation, and let's see where we can get to. I will tell you, I'll let the people speak to where they want to be, but I was very much intrigued with the concept of, this is what I heard, and if I misstate this is what I heard. The Pioneer community wants to have some sort of a registration process so that the Pioneer residents are the ones that are using. If they want to bring in a guest, well, that's to be discussed. The Pioneer community desperately wants to be able to drive their golf carts and their side-by-sides and not be harassed in any way, shape, or form. They were not saying that they are harassed. They're just saying they don't want to be under the threat of receiving a citation by using their side-by-side or their golf cart. And then the Pioneer community wants to have a conversation about ATV usage and how that all evolves. And then me being mindful of the concept that, what I've said from day one is, you put this on Facebook or you put it on any social media platform right now, you're going to have more humans than you can imagine, and the unintended consequences can be very dire to our resources and our infrastructure. But that doesn't mean I'm 100% against it, and I want to try to find the tools to be able to make sure that the wishes of the constituents are being met. How do we get there? And so that's it. I think it's time to have that conversation. If for whatever reason we're not able to find some version or some form of resolution tonight, I'm all about setting up just an agenda item towards this and making it. If you all want to attend and you all think that it ought to elevate to the concept of a board meeting, then let's do it. I think that we would be better served to have just a Pioneer meeting, but with county staff leading the charge and making sure that we're meeting up everything from a legalese standpoint and bringing something back to the board as a whole to be on. But that's it. I'll hush for right now, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the opportunity.
Chair, before you start, tell me the difference between a side-by-side and an ATV.
Yes, ma'am. So just jargon is when you see like a Polaris, that's a version, Miss Bird, or a John Deere Gator, or a Kubota, and Kawasaki, Yamaha. I mean, they all make good ones. Mules, all these different things. But it's just a little bit more of an all-terrain vehicle, and it's more of an off-road, off-highway vehicle, an OHV that has four-wheel drive capabilities many times, and it's kind of like a small industrial vehicle, so that it's just easier to maneuver, it's easier to get in and out of, and you can do a lot of things with those things that you can't do with a four-wheeler. You can do a lot of things that you can, but they're just, to me, they're a step different. Granted, you can hype any of them up, and they can Baja and run Mach 1 and set your hair on fire if you want to, but I don't think that's what people are leaning towards. So,
Okay. Any further up here before you go on? Okay, I'm going to call you in order as I receive the forms to speak tonight. There is a 3-minute window. Each person, we ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes. Mr. Lapp's got a timer, so it'll give you an idea when it's getting close. But the first one tonight, I believe is it Henry? I can't pronounce your last name. Is it Henry? Yes, sir. Thank you. If you would come up, the same thing we'll ask each of you to do to come up.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman.
Grab the mic and state your name, please. I know, but they got to get this on record. It's all public stuff, so I apologize. We don't have a tall stand there, but.
And Mayor Avellaneda, and retired mayor from the Air Force. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you. Yes, ATVs has been a hot issue here. This has been discussed on several occasions. On the times I participated, the overwhelming majority of the people that were here last time, they were in favor of allowing the residents here to use the golf carts, the side-by-sides, the ATVs, whatever, as provided by law. I've been looking at the Florida statute. It already provides the law to allow people to, for example, ride their ATVs during daytime, as long as you have a valid driver's license and as long as the speed limit is under 35 miles per hour. So we know that. And if it is a younger child, it has to be 16 and it has to be accompanied by an adult. Right now, the way it stands, we feel that the people here are being penalized for those few violators and usually do not belong to this community that come here on weekends to raise hell. And maybe 1 or 2 residents too. Now we need to find a way in which the people here are not penalized for those few people, in which we can register the residents here by a sticker like they do in other places, sticker like they do in Santa Maria, or what's the name of that?
Ave Maria?
Ave Maria, that they allow golf carts, they register those cars, they give them a sticker to make sure that they register with the community and that they are not penalized. So we're hoping that we can allow people to enjoy their being in their rural community. That's why I moved out from Miami, from the Hell House of Miami, to enjoy here my freedom here in the woods and be able to be either ride a horse or ride my ATV, which now I very seldom use because of these problems. So I'm hoping that we can find a solution to that. So that's the one thing that I wanted to address. The other question I had is just a simple question. When do we expect to be finished with the construction of State Road 80? I'm hoping, I was looking at the...
October, it will be before October of 2020.
Okay. It looks pretty well advanced. The bridges are all done. This portion coming from 27 down here, it looks pretty done to me. But my question is why isn't that portion down here isn't open? Because the bulk of the accidents have been occurring, especially in that intersection with Montura. And that portion is pretty much finished. If we want to save some lives and prevent some accidents, that section should be open to the public because that at night is very dangerous and something should be done about it. Let's hope that we don't have any other fatalities there to do something about it and open that to the public. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That really is that's a state and DOT project, so we really don't have no say-so on that, but that's a very valid point. We've got several areas in that, and we thank you for your comments. Jason?
Yeah, how you guys doing? The main thing is pretty much...
State your name, please, sir, for the record.
My name's Jason, last name's Ford.
Thank you.
Pretty much everything's been addressed already by Carson and Swindle that we're talking about. I'm sure everybody else that's going to talk here is probably going to say the same thing. But pretty much the other thing other than the golf cart situation was what he brought up, the dirt road or on-off vehicle, four-wheelers or side-by-sides that we can use them from sun up to sundown. The 316 statute in the state of Florida, it already exists, and that's just another thing that we've been getting. Me personally, I need to use a dirt road to get to another part of my property, another side of my property, and to fix the fences and things like that. Cattle gets out. It's just easier for me to use the side-by-side to fix the fences and go to that side of the property because on the other side it's a landlocked situation. So other than that, that's pretty much everything's already been addressed and brought up that I was going to talk about.
Okay.
So, other than that, just the off-road thing, you know, from sunup to sundown, it's already exists. And
Okay.
why are we opted out of that, or are we opted out of it, or what, I really don't know, and I don't know if anybody else knows here, if Henry County did opt out of that, or
Yes.
is it just in Pioneer?
2007.
Okay, so the county did opt out of that statute, okay?
Yeah, there was a portion of that, I believe the sheriff addressed at one meeting, and it was a situation that was, the county had opted out of a portion of that.
But you commissioners can bring that back.
Yes, sir,
Yeah,
we understand
That was put in place, I believe, for the ag people, and I'm not in rural residential, my property is actually agricultural, and
Mhm.
it's just something it's a tool that would help, help me,
Yes, sir.
and I'm sure other people as well.
All right.
That's pretty much about it.
Thank you, sir. Noemi?
Yeah.
Hello. My name is Noemi Sanchez. Hi, Mr. Carson.
Hi, Ms. Sanchez.
I was here last night and I was kind of raising my hands to ask a question, and I have to leave because I have a little business here. So, and I left. Okay. You asked about the meeting. When was the meeting? It was the first meeting that we did.
June?
It was on March 23rd.
Okay.
Yeah. I was the one who put the meeting together. I talked to Mr. Carson, and he came over here, and the sheriff, Mr. Steve, right? The Steve, which?
Oh, Steve.
Yes. Okay. It was like almost 200 people here, right? I have all the signature for the people who are prop ATV. And I don't know, but somebody told me that like Mr. Carson didn't receive the emails, with all the signatures that I have, which I did send it to you, Mr. Carson. I don't know. How come you didn't get it?
Yeah, I think I have one that has over 300 signatures that were in favor.
Yes,
Yeah.
because I have the email which you sent it back to me,
Yes, ma'am.
letting me know about you were surprised with the 150 people or more that I put it together here
Yeah.
in this place. And I talked to Mr. Swindle, and I sent it to him, all the signatures, because not only because I am a business owner here, doesn't matter, but I'm a resident here. I pay taxes here like everybody else. I have a house, so I have 3 kids, and there is like nothing to do over here because it's no sport, it's nothing here. So my kids need to go around side by side or go to the street, and just put the garbage cans outside and things like that, because where I live is far away in there, right? So, and the garbage truck doesn't go right to my house. Okay, that happened to me and a lot of people here in Pioneer. So, and everybody here is having citation because they go to the neighbor and say hello or anything like that, because I don't think it's a reason why to have a citation just to go and visit your friend, because why you have to like turn around your car, and go to your neighbor here in Pioneer. You just want to see like the environment, you see the nature, it's very nice when you get in the golf cart or side by side, doing responsible things, like an adult, not doing donuts or anything like that, because I don't think everybody does that, because 1 or 2 people maybe don't do this, is because they don't want, like to have the ATVs side by side here in Pioneer. I don't think that's right, that's me personally, So I just need to let you know, I have all the signatures here, okay, because I'm the one who sent it to Mr. Carson. And I would like all of you, or whoever's in charge, I don't know, to find a way, to fix that problem, because we've been with this since March 23rd, like I said, because Mr. Carson said that we were going to have a second meeting by June or July, but it never happened. We were waiting on that, never happened. So please, I would like, somebody do something for us here in Pioneer, because our kids need something to do, because it's not only to be inside playing video games, watching TV. I don't think this is healthy for kids. Mm-hmm. But if they go out with their parents in the golf cart or side-by-side or ATV, have fun, like nice, this is healthy for them.
Okay.
Instead of being thinking about something bad,
Right.
inside the house.
Well, we
Thank you so
appreciate it.
much.
Thank you, ma'am. Esperanza? Esperanza? We'll hang on to it. Maybe they'll come back here. Tony? We have a Tony? How about David? David McDaniel?
Mr. Chair, I don't mean to put anybody on the spot, but did David McDaniel, are you here? Yeah. Did you say you don't want to speak, sir? But,
Okay.
You're for or against?
He supports.
Gotcha. Thank you, boss.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Eloy? Eloy Romo? Julio? We have any outside there?
Is that all, Mr. Chair?
That's the ones I have, yes.
Well, let's give them if they're still out there,
No, let's give them a few minutes.
Mr. Port? Is Mr. Port? Yeah. If you wouldn't mind, if you would just yell out there and see if they're there, we'll have a little chat while y'all do.
Okay.
So, Carl, Mr.
Was the plan, you're gonna make a decision tonight, or will this be discussed and having another board meeting?
Yeah, we're just having a discussion tonight to try to come to a resolution. We're not going to actually do anything tonight. So.
My goal, ma'am, is I think this is a little too quick, a little too fast for the community. I don't want to have 1,000 people coming from all over Southeast and Southwest Florida, but I do want to hear 100% from the Pioneer community. Right. And I would feel a little bit bad if we took action tonight. Now, obviously, I'm 20% of 100% board, and if the board outvotes me, then I am where I am. But we usually work pretty well together, with the exception of Commissioner Harris always wanting sidewalks first. Love you, bud.
The community meetings, as Commissioner Turner said, the community meetings work really well, and it is an opportunity. I know most everybody works, and it's hard to get to a board meeting at 5 o'clock at the courthouse. So we want to make sure that your voices do get heard. We've had several outreach ministries in Wheeler Estates, and they were amazing. We got a lot of input. We were able to come to a decision in that area that everyone was pleased with. For the majority, we did have a couple that wasn't 100% pleased, but you know how that is. Everybody's not going to be happy. That's just the way it is. But they did have a chance to speak, and that's really, we want to be able to hear your voice. Again, I really appreciate all of you coming tonight. It's amazing to see so many people in the community here. So if you would state your name, sir.
Julio Figueroa.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Pretty much I already said it already. We want the right to be able to ride the ATVs and the side-by-sides. And what I see, we're getting penalized for the people from the outside that are coming in and they deserve, our places. Like this past Sunday, or Saturday, there were about 12, 15 trailers parking in there, and they were doing barbecue. Well, we cannot do that. And we don't want that either. We don't want the people coming from the outside and destroy our roads and all that. We don't want none of that. But we want the right to be able to go from one neighbor to the other without them being, harassed about it. Like I said, they said pretty much everything, but that's what we want.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know if we can get help from you guys.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair.
Come on up.
I'm not on the list, I don't have to get on that list. Again, my name is Albert Krupdow, and I live at 1160 Tampa Avenue. Now, I understand all of my neighbors, and I agree with all of them that we should be operating ATVs and the side-by-sides and the golf carts. I'd like to say, first of all, the golf cart is a slow-moving vehicle. It should have some type of a tag, like this gentleman was speaking about yesterday. Some kind of a tag to the county that's attached to our address and our name, that we know who we are, We can have a couple of guest tags, if people wanna come and bring another one of those. Same with the side-by-sides, that gentleman over there is using his for ag and to take care of his animals, and there's no reason why he shouldn't be able to operate his side-by-side. But I do believe that an ATV is a motor vehicle, and like any other motor vehicle, you can get hurt on it, you can cause an accident, and there should be, like she's saying, some type of license, motorcycle license, whatever it is, and registration of the vehicle, because they're saying that somebody had 12 vehicles they bought, and I think the officer said that some of them were actually stolen vehicles. So, I mean, the vehicle should have some type of registration, the same way that my trailer has to have a registration. My little trailer to get gas from the gas station, and that's all I'm saying. I just believe we'll be safer that way. I mean, everybody probably doesn't agree, people don't want to spend extra money, I know that. That registration should not be as much as a car registration, and that's all I feel.
All right, thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Go ahead, come on up, sir. Yes, sir. We're gonna move you right to the view in the front row.
This turned on? I'm
Yes,
Tom Terrell. I live at 1301 Lakeview, permanent resident. Now, I'm not totally against these things, but these weekenders, we can't open this up where the word's out that bring your ATV and it's wild country out here. So it's got to be something where there, some kind of a registration, some kind of a flag, some kind of something to designate the residents can use them out here. Not anybody that Broward, Dade, Palm Beach, Lee County can come out here, and because they come out here on weekends as it is now, and if they find out they're illegal, they'll be out here worse, you know. So there's got to be even ground in there somewhere where we can use it. I've got a UTV myself, and my daughter's got a golf cart, so I mean, I'm not one that doesn't have this stuff. So I'm just saying that something's got to be some kind of a ground where it's just us that live out here that use them for what everybody's talking about, getting to their fences and getting to their neighbors and stuff like that. So that's what I'm saying. And the nighttime ones, I'm totally against the nighttime ones. So, I mean, you know, whatever you got to do, you got to get it done before sundown, I guess. That's my point.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir, thank you. Do we, come on up. Just state your name there for him.
My name is Tammy Bunting. I live back in the back corner in Wildwood. And I have an issue, I don't have an issue per se with the four-wheelers and stuff. I agree there needs to be some type of a regulation for the area, the stickers or whatever through the HOA or however they want to do it. The issue comes in with the maintenance and stuff that comes along with allowing that to go on. Like the road that I live on is not a county maintained road. I live on the little canal that is in the 400 block of Pioneer back on Wildwood. The county does not grade it. They don't mow my grass. They don't do anything. We have to do that. Coming in off the highway, off of Tampa, onto my little access road, which is what it is. It's the only access I have to my property. Four-wheelers, and I know it because I saw them, were doing donuts up at the front, and the bigger hole wore out. The ambulance could not even come down our road to get to us. My brother-in-law had a stroke. We had to have people come, and we had to do the work and pay for it for my access to my property. I'm not asking the county to put a road in so I can get there. I like having that privacy. That's why I live here. But I don't want four-wheelers tearing my crap up either, because I paid for it. It's not the people who live out here that do it. I don't feel like it is. It is kids under 16 for the most part, and it's people that come in from other counties or other areas because they know they can come out here because let's not that law enforcement isn't doing their job, but we're a huge county and the agency is not that big. So they have a lot more freedoms. Good, no, they have races out there for money every freaking weekend just about, sorry. But and they come from Georgia for these races and stuff. And then they come traveling around while they're checking things out and riding through here Friday, I came home from a party, going on Tampa, 3 4-wheelers came in front of me in the dark, no light, they shoot out from the side road in front of me. Had I been hauling butt, they would have been hit. But I wasn't, so they didn't get hit. But that's not the point. But that's a routine thing. And like I said, it's a weekenders. It's the weekenders, in my opinion. I don't stop and talk to everybody. But I've had people stop me on the side of the road as I'm coming home. They're waving me down off of a 4-wheeler. Hey, where's a good place to go ride your bike? Well, obviously you don't live here. You know where good places to ride it. So the best place to go is where you came from. Ride it there.
Thank you, ma'am. Is that Claudia?
Good afternoon. Good evening. My name is Claudia Becerra, 4450 Pioneer 16th Street. My question was, where's Mr. Parker?
Yeah.
Mr. Parker, I know we mentioned this to you last night in regards of our last hurricane that we had out here, in regards of the ditches. I know we've had a chance to come out to get those checked out, because I know the last hurricane, a lot of the residents had concerns of flooding that they had, and the ditches were like blocked out. And I know Mr. Parker had came out to talk about cleaning it up, and when the season was dry, so they could have a better look. Just try to follow up for the residents out here. You had a chance to come out.
I don't know, I don't recall all the ditches in question, but there were the ones that I do recall were the Jack Spratt. We did work on Jack Spratt and spraying. That was the one by Mr. Vicente Mesa's house on the south end by Vero Beach. And he does a pretty good job of letting me know if I'm falling slack behind by not spraying. The other one was the 42-foot canal, and we've removed all debris that's there, and we keep that one maintained. That's the main drain, and Jack Spratt's the other one. Other than that, there is no other ditches to maintain. And the flooding that happened in Pioneer Plantation was from flows from the south that were not attributed to internal. So we just keep the 2 main ditches open.
Okay. You know, and the general consensus, and everyone, I don't think there's any of us is going to disagree with that. You live here, you'd love to have the opportunity to use your vehicles. I understand that I have side-by-sides, I have grandchildren, and I mean that's what we do with them. They ride them as well. And I do believe in one conversation we had was talking about, you know, riding on private property. You know, the folks that have their private property. And I know you got to get on the road to get to point A to point B, and I do the same thing. I live in a rural area as well, so this isn't just a Pioneer thing. You guys aren't the only ones that are struggling with this. This is a county-wide issue we have. I can tell you that a lot of folks in Felda have the same problem. That's part of the district I work, Wheeler Estates. They have a lot of the same issues out there, and they're right against Lee County, so it's kind of even worse. It's really, really easy access to them, so it's not just like Commissioner Turner was saying earlier, it's not just a Pioneer issue, and this is something we really need to address and try to figure out. How can we accommodate the residents of Hendry County? How can we make it work to where you have the privileges that you should have? On the same token, how do we weed out the bad actors? You're talking about your road, Ms. Bunting. That's an issue. We have that all over where folks do. They pay for their own maintenance. Then you have, and the kids, they tear them up. I was a kid once. I did donut on dirt roads. I mean, let's just face it, they're kids. Now, the ones that's coming in from the outside and tearing things up, they don't have a dog in the fight. They pay no taxes. All they do is they come in, they make a mess, and they leave. So we got to figure out some way to take care of that. So as moving forward, Commissioner Turner, I believe you're exactly right. This isn't going to get solved tonight. But I do believe as another fifth of that board, I'm with you. We need to figure out some way to accommodate these people's rights to use their side-by-sides in a rural area. If it was downtown LaBelle or downtown Cluess, it'd be a different situation. But like you, I live out in the woods. I like that. I don't like my neighbor right there. If we have a loud conversation, it's nobody's business. So I like living out in the middle of nowhere. I do the same thing. I ride the four-wheeler all over the place. I got a Jeep that don't have a tag. Y'all didn't hear that? I ride it all over the place. Do not come down 29. But the point being, when you're responsible, you're not the one that's making the problem, but you're the one that's getting taxed because of the problem. So we've got to find a way to accommodate that somehow. That's all I'm going to say on it. So.
Say cars.
Yes, sir.
Do they want to ride on all of the roads in Pioneer?
I can't answer that. I would say that for the most part, what I've heard is, yes, everybody would like to be able to ride their side-by-sides and their golf carts on all the roads in Pioneer, because there is a tremendous amount of people, neighbor visiting neighbor, someone wanting to run to the depot, someone wanting to run to the Shell station, you name it, or wanting to run to the backside and just have a nice Sunday evening, John.
Does everybody in Pioneer agree on that? Most everybody?
I cannot speak to that. I don't like putting words in people's mouths. I think that now, I will tell you this, when I got elected and when I was running for office in 06, 07, 08, I would say that it was probably, a high majority that did not want it. I would tell you that the demographics have changed tremendously. I think there's been a tremendous amount of people that have moved into the community, and I think that they've escaped Metro Florida, and they now feel they're out in the woods, and they want to enjoy that. They want to have the
Where
ability
do
to
they
have
ride them now?
Right, like for example, you come out here on any given weekend, you're going to see a ton of this activity occurring. I was out here this past Sunday. I was sharing last night. I passed, I think it was 3 in Ladika and 2 in Pioneer. People that were in their, and all of them actually were side by sides. None of them were 4-wheelers. No one was behaving erratically. Everybody was just enjoying themselves. I stopped and talked to a majority of them. I always caution, and please don't take this as I'm 100% against anything. What I'm saying is I've always, stepped from a cautionary perspective of the unintended consequences. And what I've said time and time again is, you legalize it, you put it on a social media platform, and I will see what happened when I was a young boy coming back from the Florida Keys or coming back from Flamingo Everglades National Park, right there on the side of 27, just south of Bergeron's Ranch. And there would literally be hundreds of people out there, and they were out there for hours. They were covered in mud head to toe, and it was a free, mud fest. Now, those are housing developments, Sterling Road and all that stuff. There's more people in some square blocks than there are in entire sections of Hendry County. Definitely more than Pioneer, Montura, Ladika combined, and Flaghole. So, that massive humanity has pushed all of that onto us. It's a foregone conclusion. It's inevitable that we're going to have to deal with this issue. If Pioneer thinks it, is a lot of activities that they don't necessarily want, and I don't mean this to be derogatory towards Montura, but anytime I'm in Montura, there's a lot of 4-wheelers, and they're getting after it. And the 2 Central County Water Drainage District meetings that I've attended, it's a hot button topic. I mean, people they're up in arms about it, and I don't know if I think they're not allowed to ride on easements now to be able to get to the reservoir, the 3,000 acre reservoir. You have to be a permitting user to be able to access it, but I think they got security now letting people in and out. I don't know. I do think that, a few weeks ago and definitely a few years ago, I was 100% staunch supporter of we need to leave it the way it is, because I don't think there's that many citations that are being issued. And I don't like asking the crowd, hey, can you show me by a sign of hands? But is Chief Deputy Nelson still here?
Yeah.
Chief Deputy, how many citations do you think you all have issued countywide as it relates to OHV, 4-wheeler use, anything? And I don't want to hold you to it, but I mean, is it hundreds? Is it dozens? Is it dozens? In a year's period, dozens.
Well, you can't catch them though, can you?
And Chief,
That's why.
Chief,
You can't catch them.
or if you had to guess once again, are those locals or are they? It's a menagerie of everything.
It's a menagerie.
Okay.
Yeah, I said just start to complaints about it. Right. Most of the time, we're responding to a complaint from a resident.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But then,
That's why we're here, to look for the ATVs. If they don't want us to catch them, we're not gonna catch them.
No,
We're
absolutely.
not equipped for that.
Right. Yes, sir. One second.
Because you would like to know, like, how many people, for example, the amount of people that are pro ATV. If you would like, I can give to you all the signatures that I have here, 6th
Okay.
March. If you want, I can give it to you.
okay.
Probably like 90% to 95% of the people in the community. Yeah, 300 signatures. I mean, how many more do you need?
Ms. Sanchez, I don't mean to be combative with anyone, but I mean, I can show y'all, probably 5,000 signatures that were the natural gas plant. I can show you probably close to 100,000 signatures that were anti the monkey farms. I mean, I can go through that, petitions after that necessary. I am a huge proponent of hearing from the people in the room right now, because honestly, sir, and please don't take any disrespect to this, but we had how many speakers cards and how many spoke. I think that we owe this to the community of Pioneer to have a meeting that is set to this issue specific, time certain. If you want to just make it an agenda item, I think we could do that. I think we could actually make it just an agenda item in a close to the LaBelle meeting. And you're talking about a 20-minute drive to either side. And I think that from what I'm hearing tonight and from what I'm hearing from everyone, I think that we're going to be able to find resolution to this issue. I don't think this is something that we're going to
Well, no, what I was going to throw to that is, just so everyone knows, we were talking about the ATV, UTV. In order to ride your vehicle in any state park, you're required to have a permit. Permits vary. The way those permits work, I have one for the Big Cypress. I have one for other management areas as well. The way those permits work, just so you got a ballpark idea, you have to have your vehicle weighed. They have to be measured. The tire size is taken into effect. You have to have certain size tires. So clearance, there's certain clearance. But those areas are strictly marked. You ride on designated trails only. And the situation that a lot of folks are looking at, what I'm understanding is, we're not against the four-wheelers or the ATVs. We're just against them tearing up our private property. We're against them being in areas they don't need to be in, which I got that. Where I live, I don't want everybody and their brother riding their ATV on my property. Simply, he wrecks his ATV, he sues me, whether he's supposed to be there or not. So I think the subject's going to be, we're not against the ATVs. Like I said, I have them myself, I ride them, but we need to be responsible about it. And once you open this window, Banyan Village, I don't know how many people have been there very, very often, but just down the road in Banyan Village, there's holes digging up. Their dugout are big enough you can park a truck in it, you wouldn't see the roof, where they're doing donuts. And this is private property. This is not county property. This is private property. Most of that property out there, most people don't even know, is owned by folks that live in Henry County and folks that live elsewhere, but it's private. So I think the issue that we're really looking at is, how can we make this where you can take your ATV, you can go do what you need to do, and no one bothers you.
Yeah.
But bad actor comes in. We spot him immediately. We take care of that. And it's only going to take a few until they get the word out. Don't go to Pioneer if you don't belong there, because they're going to cite you. You're going to get a ticket, not a warning. Can you catch every one of them? Absolutely not. I've watched the kids. I watched them play chase with the deputies that run down there, and the little bike's so quick that by the time the deputy gets turned around, he's going the other way. And the deputy's probably pulling out his hair just trying to figure out, how am I going to get this yahoo? So there is going to be situations to where we're not going to get everything encompassed into one, but we need to figure out a way countywide. How can you use your ATV, but someone can't come in and tear up her private road? So we've got to figure out a way to do that. I agree with it. I love having the use, but I don't want anyone tearing my property up either. And I believe every one of you here that pay taxes for your property, the last thing you want is someone coming in and destroying your private property. And that's the issue. The issue isn't really, we don't want you riding your ATVs. The issues are, I don't want you tearing up Miss Bunning's yard, because I don't want you tearing up my yard. So we got to figure out a happy medium there. And like Commissioner Turner said, when you put it on Facebook, bonjour.
But none of us gonna do that. We want the out.
No, but it will get out.
But we want the out. That's how we come up with an idea of flag.
One at a time.
Yeah, that's how we come up with an idea with a flag. You can flag, I mean, you can see the flag, he belongs to the county.
Yeah.
When somebody from there has not a flag, not only you have the deputy looking for them, we have the community look, hey, we got people from the outside running over here.
And that's the way it's getting now, is it's call driven.
Why can't we put a fence over here, like we do in Monturo?
Yeah.
Because in Monturo, I think they have a place to put a lock. Every month they change the combination on it, so not only the people, that live in the place, they're allowed to go in there.
The state parks are the same way. Yeah. No, the state parks are the same way, and that's the way they control it there. You get locked in, you're locked in. You gotta cross about a 20-foot deep canal to get out. Not too many of them ATVs are gonna do that very well. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Susan Moore. I'm actually like other communities are doing throughout Florida. You put 2 stickers on it, says Pioneer Community, on the sides of them. The stickers cost $1 each, and it's taken care of.
Well, and that's what we're.
See it.
Yes, ma'am. That's what we're trying to get to an area to do that. That's exactly what the conversation is. Well, it is, but it's not.
We're in communities where it is.
Right.
And this is ridiculous.
Let's keep it in order real quick, because he was next, and I'll come back to you, sir.
What I'd like to say is, I don't think it's anybody that's in this meeting or anybody.
No, absolutely
that's
not.
tearing up anybody else's driveway.
Sure.
Pretty much everybody here, I think, is responsible, and that's why we're here. But, the other thing is, yeah, we gotta find a way to keep the other people out, but the sticker would be a good way to stop other people from coming in, and only the people here in Pioneer would be able to ride in Pioneer, the people that live in Pioneer, because pretty much those people are gonna tear up their neighbor's property.
Right.
The other thing is, like Carson was saying, can we just take a hand-raised consensus of everybody in here who would be for it and who wouldn't be?
Well, I think it pretty much everybody's saying the same thing. No one said, I haven't heard one anti yet. The only one I did hear anti was, I don't want you riding at night. And that was the only thing I heard, negative so far. But everyone else is for it. Yes, sir.
I think
Hang on one
everybody's
second.
for it.
Yes, sir.
Ross Richardson, I've been out there for 33 years. I'm all for the four-wheelers, UTVs, and golf carts. As she mentioned, the stickers on 2 of them, one on each side, which could be issued by the homeowners association, like we are in other communities, along with a photo of the vehicle and a photo of the registration number. That way, if there's, the sheriff would have access to this in case the vehicle is stolen. This way, we have a way of tracking down the stolen vehicle.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, this is a question we'll have to ask since you brought that up. I was not aware that you had a HOA out here.
But, well, I don't think that you could actually allow the HOA to monitor anything like that. What I wanted to ask was, Mr. Langford, you issue concealed, you issue driver's license, if somebody's going to the OK Slough, do they come to your facility to get a wildlife management sticker as well? You can't. That's the gist of the question. So we could do this. We can make this happen, correct? You feel this wouldn't be a high mountain to climb? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and again, that's why we're here. It's a great point, and it's something we just need, but we can't say tonight we're going to do this. We don't have to recreate the wheel. There's communities doing it. We can glean from those communities and put it in a process.
Mr. Chair, like I said, I hate asking, because I don't like setting a bad precedent of getting feedback from the people. But once again, to echo what the chair is saying, I think everybody in here is pretty much in a consensus of wanting to see something occur, and the status quo just isn't getting it done. How about, do we want to limit Henry Isles because of the main thoroughfare and the concept of, my brain just goes back to liability of someone getting ran over, But I also know that there's a tremendous amount of the population that actually lives on Henry Isles. So if you get back to the concept of wanting to visit neighbors and whatnot, how do you balance that out, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Platt?
I have something to say. It's not about that particular point, so
Okay.
I don't know if we want to deal with that, and then I can make my comment, or, okay. So the thing I need to make everyone aware of is, a concern I have is this idea of only Henry residents or only Pioneer residents can get an approval, and then anyone else can't. If a government's doing that, and we'd be the government doing it, not a homeowners association, and I wonder about these situations that they're referring to, if that's a gated community or a closed community where the roads are owned by the HOA and they're not public roads, that's a different scenario than what we're dealing with. We're a government dealing with public roads. The Constitution requires equal protection of the laws. You can't just have, one set of laws for these people and another set of laws for other people. That's this basic Constitution. And so I'd have a serious concern that only Henry residents can drive on these roads and no one else can. I think that's probably going to be problematic. I can do some research on it and find out for sure, but I just want to make it clear that I think that's a problem.
So what you're saying there, just to make sure I'm on the same page, is if someone from the outside came in and wanted to purchase that permit, what you're saying is they'd have to have the ability to do that.
I think it's even worse than that. I think what he's saying is that you wouldn't have the ability to discriminate against an outsider or an insider.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So I have two issues. That's my first and biggest issue, because that's the Constitution, equal protection of the law. The second issue I would have is the State Uniform Traffic Control Code, which is Chapter 316 of the Florida statutes, is 126 pages long. And if any of you are familiar with the statutes, that's a lot of detail. And the Florida legislature has generally preempted local governments from regulating and dealing with traffic control issues, with exceptions that are specifically stated. Golf carts is one of them, ATVs is one of them. But generally speaking, we're told, hands off, the legislature wants a statewide approach to motor vehicles. And so I have a concern whether we'd have authority to even do a registration program. Now, maybe we can, and I'll do some research and find out if we can, but I just wanted to put on the record, those are two issues I have about this proposal.
I do. So, I was hoping tonight to reach some sort of end, but I think that this has grown to a complex issue to where I don't think we are. But I don't think it's grown to a complex issue to where we're not agreeing. I don't think anyone on this board is against making sure that we protect the rights of the citizens of Pioneer so that you can enjoy the rural life that you want to enjoy with regard to a golf cart, RTV, ATV, UTV, or whatever you have. However, I think that personally, just in hearing what I'm hearing, we've probably reached a point, in my opinion, tonight where we're not going to get much further with such a large crowd. I don't know where we want to go next. Maybe it would be with the Pioneer Board in conjunction with law enforcement and maybe with Attorney Lapp, and in a smaller group setting coming up with a set of parameters that would be palatable, that would satisfy the needs of this community, that we could have back, that we could all look at, vet, and agree with. And if that's acceptable, I say we ought to move down that road as quickly as possible and make it time certain. Would it be possible at the first meeting in February in Clewiston? Or let's have it in front of us so that we can take action on it.
Does that give you time to cover the?
At least to report to you on it. I mean, I don't know if it involves an ordinance. I don't know that we probably wouldn't have it ready to adopt at that point. But you could give direction.
And I think that's understandable. But at least said, this is what's acceptable. This is what the community would like to see. Here's where we can legally make it happen. Here's where we can't. How can we make that happen?
Right. And to be clear, you have the authority for the golf carts already.
Yep.
You can do a resolution to add these roads to the golf cart ordinance provisions, just like Harlem is. So that's an option on the table. And then the ATV, the statute already says you can allow unpaved roads, posted limit less than 35 miles per hour. You can allow ATV use. It's just that we've opted out of that as a county. So that's still something that's on the table. That's clear that you can do that.
And I think we should, but I think that we should do it holistically, organically, representing the desires of this community and protecting the legal aspects that we have to protect. Is the first meeting in February for our board, would that be acceptable? Would that be acceptable for this community? To give us that amount of time for you to have your voice heard through your board back to ours? It can be a special meeting. Can y'all do a special meeting or a group meeting?
Yeah.
And come with ideas, come with ways that we can make it happen. Knowing, we've all said there in the outline, that we have to have some sort of permanent registration. We know that we want to somehow work together, because if we can't, ban the outsiders, at least we've got to work together with those that are being the bad actors and make that happen. Do we want to allow nighttime or not? And so we've all heard the issues, and so we need to come ready to have action items that we can bring and put on paper and make it legal for everyone.
Okay, yes, ma'am, I hadn't forgot you. Go ahead.
I just have a question that I had a question prior to, but now that he mentioned that. So basically what you're saying is the way that it's set up is if we open that up, you're saying that it has to be open broad-based, that you can't deny anybody that's outside of the community. So in other words, even like with Harlem, if somebody here had a golf cart, they could actually drive over to Harlem with their golf cart and drive around Harlem, because you can't say that it can only be a Harlem resident.
That's correct.
Well, that's the way it is currently in Harlem.
Yes.
That's the way it's
I
set
was
up.
confused because I thought that was Harlem residents, so that's why we were asking about Pioneer residents and things. And
y'all bringing to the resolution was I would prefer a flag rather than a sticker because it's visible for longer distance for identification purposes. To be able to return somebody in like, okay, they're not permanent here.
And
Okay.
just to add to what Commissioner was saying is that even with the tag or the sticker, I do think that your area needs to be identified. So if someone
Keep
else
it down,
do come,
folks.
if someone else was to come in, you all would be able to say, hey, that vehicle do not belong here. They're on private property. There is different things that you could do because if they're on private property, they shouldn't be there anyway. So it gives you some type of limitation. My thing of it is who own the property that they're coming in because they're coming in resting on someone's property. And we don't know if they're giving them permission or not. Because just because there's not trailer or houses there, somebody own it. So how are they getting there? Who's letting them, rest upon that property? So I would just like to see that little change come about where you can identify someone that do live here. And I'm not saying you can and keep them in or keep them out, but at least be able to identify them to know, hey, they're from Pioneer or they're not from Pioneer. You're not limiting them, but you will be able to know who's a resident and who's not.
Guys, if y'all would kind of keep it down a little bit, it's hard to hear. We would appreciate it. Thank y'all. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Brenda Townsend, and we live in Wadika, and we have the same problem, but our problem is people that own property there, they come back from Miami, they come from anywhere, and when they're weekend warriors, they have loud music, they got the ATVs, they do donuts in our road, which we have a hard time maintaining, because we actually need more fill out there, because all they do is keep grading the more and more down. But again, you got weekend warriors, so if you're gonna do just the communities with a flag or whatever, we don't want the registrations, because it's bad enough that we have to register our cars. So, we gotta come up with something else, because the weekend warriors are allowed to have their ATVs, because they have property taxes here in Henry County, just like I do. I have a side-by-side that we use for building fences, taking care of our cows and everything else. So if we start having to register all them, and it has headlights on it, it's got taillights, but if we have to register them, I'm on Social Security, so something's gotta go here, guys, I can't keep registering everything. But that side-by-side helps us working the cows, especially if we're trying to spray them. So, again, I just wanted to bring up about the weekend warriors, because they do come up on the weekends and they do own property.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. Hang on one second. Mr. Bosley. And understand, everyone, we're trying to work through this to try to find a resolution. Again, we're not going to find a resolution tonight, but we are trying to find a stopping point where we can move forward, come back, and have another meeting about this. So I know you've had your hands up, but I'm going to get you in order. So just be patient. You're number 5 now. Yes, Mr. Bosley.
Safety is my
Correct.
And a lot of them left last night, and there's a few of us that sat around here and hashed things out. And the end result was that the ones that reside here have some type of identification on their machine, whatever, side by side or whatever, that if their relatives came in or friends came in, they had to ride your vehicle because the residents here would be responsible for that vehicle and those people from outside that are riding them.
Yes, sir.
And then again, you have a situation with law enforcement. It is opening it up where, or how are they going to come back in and do anything, as far as making things safe.
Right.
So that was what we discussed last night. But workshops.
Yes, sir. I believe that's where we're headed. So let's kind of wind it up here real quick. You're next. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. As far as I understand it, the people that come from outside Pioneer, they have no property here, or they have no family member, or any related people here. As far as I know, they go to the trails. They don't destroy anybody's property. That's what I can see, because they go with
No, we understand that, yes. We get back here. I'm coming to you.
Pretty much answering back what you're saying, there are people probably saying, you have a property here, you tell others to come in, hey, use my property. To eliminate all that, you can have guesses. But when you have guesses, you are responsible for those guesses. So if they come in, hey, you gotta buy the tickets that we have, you gotta go by the laws that we have, and they're not gonna start coming in. The deers are gonna fly off. You have to purchase a ticket for them.
Yeah.
And it goes on your property.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, you're concerned about the media, about getting out to the media, about the ATC situation. It's already out there, like, Google, like houses for rent, to rent your house for vacation, and they're posting it online that they have ATVs and right out. I've seen houses now online.
Yeah. Okay.
It kind of speaks specifically to my point is that, I mean, it's illegal now.
Right.
And I've seen Airbnb ads. I've seen Airbnb ads, ma'am, where, you know, you can rent a house in Pioneer for the holiday and it comes with 10 side by side, you know. I'm like, wow, that's impressive, you know. It's all in one fell swoop. It's a really good idea, business wise.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna take a couple more. Yes, sir.
Yeah, one thing I wanna say is, so what I understand as of right now, the golf cart thing is probably can happen now, is that correct?
You know, it's funny you say that. I'm sitting right here thinking, I don't know why. Nobody has said anything negative about a golf cart. I don't know why a golf cart can't be instituted.
Good point.
And if we just took the golf cart concept and modeled it exactly what they're doing in Harlem.
Come on, folks, kind of keep it
Now
down a little bit.
we have a template that's already been, you know, it's already been followed. Y'all beat that up and tell me why it's a bad idea.
Well, the golf cart situation, I believe we could do. If you want to do that, we could do that. And we could do that tonight, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah. By resolution.
Hang on one second, everybody. Is that
It's
correct?
by a resolution, but you could give all the direction that you need to do, and you could vote on it tonight, although I do want to say that you probably want to specify roads by name, or by
Same situation
exclusive.
that
It's everything minus, or it's only these named, or something like that.
It has to be 25 miles an hour, if it's more than that, the golf carts are not permitted there.
Right.
That's why I specified they can't ride on the road. That's a state,
Hang on. Yes, sir. Green shirt?
The state statute says not at night, okay?
Right.
You just screwed up. Harlem was by at night, that's what you just talked about. Because
Harlan was at night with a license.
That's a countywide ordinance.
Yeah, but I mean, the state statute for these ATVs and stuff already states not at night.
Okay, well,
Okay, we're talking about different things.
Already on the
Okay.
record.
That's
Now,
ATV.
Here's another thing.
We're talking about
My
golf carts.
question is, how do you, there's gotta be legally or some way that the designation of a golf cart, an ATV, and UTV, they can't all be thrown into the same pool.
They're defined.
Isn't there something as far as the CCs on a motor?
I've been places where you can rent a golf cart with a Florida tag on it and run the city street. Daytona, for an example. And these golf carts got a Florida tag on them, just like your car does. So they're registered to run the city streets where I don't believe you could gift that to fly with an ATV. You see what I'm saying? So there's gotta be some type of a different designation for those three type vehicles.
And that's exactly what we're talking about. Again, this isn't gonna get solved tonight.
That's-
We're listening, we're getting the ideas, and we're gonna have to come back and work on it.
and the only thing they're gonna deal on tonight is the golf cart. That's the only thing they're dealing with tonight.
Well, we don't know which streets we're gonna
Mr.
encompass
Chair.
in that. I believe we should put that off as well. so.
Ms. Weaver wanted to speak. I'd like to hear.
I'm just gonna ask, if you're gonna do golf carts, why not do side by sides? Side by sides don't do the donuts and aren't down the ditches, breaking the sides of the road. And look at that, I mean, there's not a lot of difference in the size of golf cart and side by side.
I agree, Ms. Weaver.
The problem we have are the ATVs that do the donuts, go off the sides of the road and tear out the embankment, and then the county comes in on Monday and fixes it, and then they come back on the weekend and it's gone, and the county comes back and fixes it. You can go down 15th
Yes, sir.
My name is Jose Chirino. I'm a resident here. I'm also on the board. And I am 100%, as we've spoken about, for ATVs, for golf carts, for side-by-side. The only thing is that I feel that we cannot get ahead of ourselves. In the sense that before you guys decide, my opinion is that we need to sit with our people, community, and let them give us their ideas. That's first. Second, if we decide too fast, it's not gonna work. Because unfortunately, we're humans. So if we decide something tonight, I know what's gonna happen next week. If we sit and we speak and we get something where we're sure what we wanna do for our community. You know, Henry Isle is a big issue. You know, can we allow it on Henry Isle? Can we use it to cross over? So there's a lot of things that we need to do. And I think that we are gonna serve the community better by not running with this, but instead taking our time and putting on paper what we want as a community, what we agree on as a community with the board, and then with, you know, of course, the county commissioner. Also, I wanted to ask the county attorney, if we're an HOA, can we not control that? Can we not control the, not the stickers, because we've talked about stickers, but I think that the flags are a lot better for our community because, first of all, more visible and stuff like that. If we are an HOA, can we control the stickers or the flags and kind of control the registration? I'm calling it registration, but, well, I guess it would be kind of a registration in Pioneer of who has them, who owns them, and things like that. Is that?
Yeah, that's licensing is a governmental function, and so in order for your license to have any meaning, it has to be enforceable. So in other words, you just don't want flags. You only want flags if somebody can get ticketed for not having one, right? And so if you want it that way, law enforcement has to be able to enforce laws, and it can't just be, you know, some resolution of a club. It's got to be a law, and then we adopt laws, and we can't have a private organization running a licensing scheme. That's just, this is not appropriate.
No, but to speak to what you're saying, you have a perfect point, sir. It does need to start with you and your community. And once you guys have that meeting and you come, this is what we want. Then it comes to Commissioner Turner and it comes to the board. At that point, all the discussion's been had. You guys know this is exactly what we want. This is exactly what we do not want. That was the same scenario when we were going over the Wheeler Estates. The community come to an idea, this is what we want, this is not what we want, and then it come to the board, and the process was smooth. So yes, sir, I believe you're exactly right. That's what we were saying earlier. I believe that's the point we're at tonight. We need to put this in your hands as the board and say, ladies and gentlemen, come back with your recommendations. Then let us have the county attorney look and make sure, yes, we can do this, yes, no, or what the case may be, and then allow Commissioner Turner to meet with you and then come back to the board with it.
Mr. Chair, let me ask this. Ms. Simmons, were you involved in any of the visioning exercises that happened in Pioneer, or did that precede your time?
That was before my time.
Okay. A handful of you all were, though, right? Mr. Bosley, Mr. Terrell, were y'all? I don't know if it was Vince Cotero, but we had a very small grant that we put dollars and cents out, and it was the whole concept of what we wanted to see Pioneer look like as a community.
Oh, you mean like a way out project?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And that was where the share the roads.
You're talking probably 6-8 years ago.
I think it was definitely 6 years ago. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was involved in it. Yeah.
That was where the share the road signs came in with the horses. There was and by the way, those took like 3 years to get up. You know, there was a lot. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, you know, I think this is exactly, this issue is in front of where what, in case you all, just for the crowd's understanding, Chairman Wills did a visioning exercise for Wheeler Estates, which is the furthest west community in all of the county. And they kind of put a master plan together. We're now doing that. The county is facilitating that discussion in the Montura community. Pioneer is next up. But I think this issue clearly takes a precedence, and this needs to be front loaded. What I'd like to propose is allowing allowing the Pioneer community to set a few dates. I don't think you need to do it in one fell swoop. I think y'all need to have a few nights on the calendar. I think it needs to be a community-led effort. You know, Ms. Townsend, I hear what you and Mr. Townsend are saying. I understand completely what you're saying. Shane, by the way, that was a knock at you. They need more fill on Queen. You need to tighten up. We need more marl, but it's just a bunch of rocks. It's a really hard. Okay, good. But the gist is I don't think we ought to have, you know, the burner's hot. Let's take our hand off of it or put it on there and let it cook, because this is potentially a tumultuous issue. I've left the ordinance, the example of what Harlem has. I think that needs to be kind of morphed into here. I think we need to have a really healthy discussion about Henry Isles. Do we want to allow that to be utilized? Do we want to lower the speed limit on our non-paved roads right now and just call it a day? And then we have to look at it from a legal standpoint of what can we actually monitor and how do we go about doing that. You all know I don't need to speak to you about the size of our county from a geographic standpoint and the limited resources that we have and our ability to monitor this at all anyway. If we're all being honest with ourselves, we know that there's a tremendous amount of, as it relates today, Ms. Sanchez, you pointed out that, you know, the people that aren't from here, they get off and they go and ride. Well, the fact is that those people are illegal. From the moment they unload that vehicle and they take off riding, unless they're riding on private property with permission, which a huge majority of them are not, they're illegal. But our law enforcement doesn't hammer on them. And so, you know, we have to find a way to skin that cat, cook it and eat it and enjoy it, because if not, we're gonna be right back at square one with a lot of gnashing of teeth and people just angry because, you know, we didn't make a wise decision. And I don't know if we're gonna meet it on the first try, but I don't think we're at a point now where we can just sit and hope for the best and kind of turn a blind eye. And I will be the first to tell you, I didn't turn a blind eye, but in a couple of conversations that I had with law enforcement, just understanding that the low number of citations that were being issued, and the fact that everybody that I know that wants to ride a side-by-side, they're riding it. We would support, if you're being honest. Have you, and I think you may have not ridden your side-by-side out of fear of being cited, and you have been cited?
I got a warning.
You got a warning, you know? But it curtails you from doing that from time to time.
I just couldn't finish what I was doing.
Yeah, you know, so.
If this property is agricultural, he's agricultural,
Pioneer
you can use
rural
your side by side.
Well,
Pioneer,
it's not
a
on
huge
the
majority of
property.
Pioneers is RR, rural residential.
Yeah,
And so,
agricultural,
yeah.
but I have to use 15th Street to
Yeah.
get to the backside of
Yeah.
my property.
And so then he's accessing a public right of way, and there you go, there's your problem, so.
I could vouch, I ride my side-by-side, and I was one of the people that got cited.
Because you're a heathen. We all see how you ride that thing.
And to kind of elaborate a little bit on what you just told Jason, on Sunday afternoon, I live right on the other side of Henry, right here on Panama. I took out my side-by-side with my dog. I got up to Henry and I was gonna cross over here, and a sheriff came right across. I made a U-turn and went into my property. To say, you know what, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So I am one that lives here that can't do what I really wanna do.
Yeah,
You know, and that's what we're asking.
yeah.
Right.
How many people in here have gotten a citation from?
So 2, 3,
I
4.
have- Carson,
He said, yes, your child got a citation.
No.
No, okay.
Carson, there's more. I have family members that also live in here that are out here tonight, that I think every one of them got a citation.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, you know, bang, across the board for everyone. So, you know, and I'm not hitting on the.
No, the fact is they're doing their job. That's the way the rule reads right now.
They're doing their job,
That's
and
it.
We're doing something that we weren't supposed to be doing
Yeah.
because it's by law, but that's where we need to come.
Yes, sir.
So they can't catch the guys that come out, you
Yeah.
know, on the weekend, and they can't catch them, and I understand that stuff.
Yeah.
But here I am going down the street doing 30,
Yeah,
you can't be on the street.
yeah.
So there's gotta be a balance.
There gotta be a balance.
We're getting nailed, we're just constantly getting nailed.
Yeah, so like you said, I think,
All right. So, Mr. Chair, I think where we're going to land is we'll make this an agenda item. This will be an item for update. in the first meeting in February, if the Pioneer community is able to get together and y'all are able to give us some sound bites or a one page or a white page of saying, hey, this is where we're kind of all leaning to, and this is the consensus that we arrived at, what I'm going to challenge you all to do is just understand, I just want to know about the meeting. If I can attend, I will. I'll do everything in my power to try to attend. B is that I want it to be a consensus of Pioneer residents. I don't want, and guys, I'm sure I'm going to offend some people, but I don't want you to invite your 31 cousins up from Miami-Dade or from Cape Coral and say, hey, we need everybody in the room. And Jason, I think that we have a service to try to have that conversation in a vacuum, so to speak, of the Pioneer residents, because we want to try to meet to the best of our ability what the constituents want to see happen. Okay. Yep. And then I think if we can get something from you all again, Ms. Sanchez, another follow up to what you've done so far, and everybody kind of melting that together, and then we'll bring some solid ideas to this board. I don't see why we can't move forward with some action items in the last part of February. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
But the thing is that I don't want to wait 1 more year.
Yeah.
Can I ask the attorney one other
It's
question?
been a year already.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Can I ask one other question? And I know this lady brought it up. Golf carts, side by sides. Are we talking that we can make that happen?
I think we should. I mean,
Well, the problem is, what's Bird brought up is we do not have the roads designated. The one we just did in Harlem had roads designated because of speed that we could not. So we really need to wait to do that as well, because we do not know the road. We can't tell you, okay, this road and this road without actually doing that, so.
You got it. And that's part of that conversation.
Right.
Are we going to use Henry Isles? Are we going to allow Henry Isles to cross over? I mean, right now, today in the city of Clewiston, your golf cart has to be registered. I believe you have to have a driver's license. I'm not 100% sure about the driver's license. And you cannot access Highway 27. And I can guarantee you one of the most powerful people that I know in the city of Clewiston crosses Highway 27 multiple times a week to go to the golf course and play. And I would dare a city of Clewiston police officer to give him a ticket, because they'll be fired before the ink dries, okay?
Right,
and you're not supposed to say stuff like that,
Mr.
but it's a
Nelson.
fact, right?
Hang on 1 second.
You can cross 27? Okay, so see, so I didn't know that. That's a good caveat. You can cross 27, but only in a designated spot. That's the thing to think about. Are we going to have 4 spots on Henry Isles? And we know that Homestead, that's where we're going to be. And those will be things that we need to take into consideration. Those are all good. I want all traffic to go by Peter Amasagar's house off of Kanawha, because he's so mean to me all the time.
Okay, hang on. Mr. Nelson, we're about to wrap this up, folks. We're going to get the same comments.
Yeah.
So we've already decided we are going to try to work this out, but we're not going to do it tonight.
Yep.
So sitting here another 45 minutes isn't going to solve anything. We're going to hear the same thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to hear from Mr. Nelson. This gentleman's been waiting patiently. I'm going to get him too, and then we're going to wrap this up. We'll set the meeting with the board. Sir, you guys will take care of the Pioneer board. You guys will get it together. The board will get together, then they'll come back, and we'll move from there. So that's where we're going to land right now, okay? Mr. Nelson.
We would like to offer our assistance in the group meeting here with Pioneer, so that when they do bring you a product, it won't be something that's illegal, and you shoot it back down and start all over.
That's awesome. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Yes, sir.
Yes, I just wanted advice from you. We all want what you have. How can we get it?
What I have,
Where you live? I want to know where you live. We just want
I ride on, it's my property. It's my property. I ride on my property.
But you say you ride outside
No, I ride on my property. The only time I ride outside of my property is when I ride down to the end of the road and I fuel it up and I turn around and drive back. And I can tell you that I was told I could be cited. So you have what I have. You have the same issue. So, again, thank you everyone for the comments. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate each of you being, sir. No, sir. My wife said I got too many toys, which is UTV, ATV, boat, Jeep. Yeah, I'm kind of toyed out. But thank you again for your time. We really appreciate your input tonight. Everyone, we're going to do business by district and we're going to close. So, Mr. Swindle.
I just want to say thank you to this community for a great conversation, for hosting us here. And like Commissioner Turner said, this is a great opportunity for government and citizens to meet and face-to-face and make sure we carry out your wishes. So thank you for allowing us to be here.
Commissioner Byrd?
I'd also like to say thank you. It was a great meeting. Good luck on your decision making. Together.
Mr. Harris?
Anyway, thank y'all very much, and, our decision depends on what y'all want.
We want sidewalks.
No, sir.
Wow.
Troublemaker.
He said you're getting a sidewalk. Mr. Turner?
I think there's a lot of veterans here, and a lot of people have had this conversation with me. Doc Weaver has hammered on me at Beef O'Brady's at least 3 different occasions, and the other veterans have been very mean to me. I'm just saying that tongue in cheek, Doc. But I met with the county administrator, Ms. Davis, and myself, and the city manager. Mayor Gardner was supposed to be there, but we're in the process of identifying the spot where we're going to place a flag coming into the city of Clewiston. And when we get those details ironed out, we will be sure to carry that on. Ms. Davis and Randy Martin, the city manager, will be talking to the district representative for DOT for District 1. And the city is in the process of getting us the utility locations and everything. We're going to want power there. Obviously, the flag's got to be lit up and all that stuff. But to me, that's just an easy lift. It's such an easy victory for us to all have as a community. And so that's a goal that I want to see done in the 2020 calendar. I mentioned the meeting last night here. Jennifer, I thought that all of our buildings had internet.
Our community centers are supposed to all have internet. They do.
Supposed to have Wi-Fi, yeah.
It's supposed to have Wi-Fi?
Yes, sir.
So someone brought up the fact that we do not, and so I'd just like to verify that and make sure that it's occurring. I was under the impression that it did, and I knew it was peanuts for that to occur. And once again, Mr. Porth wanted to reiterate, Commissioner Swindle, there was a time where the board wanted to remove the recreation camp that happened out here, and we were able to work through that, and we've overcame that. It's gone from right at in the high teens to just under 50 kids this year that they had coming out here. And it was pointed out, as you all know, there's a lot of people that are behind the 8 ball, so to speak, financially. And those babies don't, they're not going to be able to eat as nutritiously if we don't provide for that camp. So, Mr. Porth, I hope that you and your better half will be able to continue to breed those meals to us if we're able to provide that service. But you have a commitment from me, and I don't see any other of these commissioners not wanting to see that summer camp occur again out here. We'll find the resources to make that happen. So I just want the Pioneer community to know that.
Didn't the school district?
The school district made it happen, but I just want to make sure that the school district's on board with doing that again, and if they can't, we need to know that sooner than later. Yeah, they do the meals. Pioneer has a scholarship fund that we started a few years ago. I was happy to know that there's $3,000 in that fund. That's for Pioneer residents specifically. I see a FGCU alum in here, but I just wanted to say that because if you all know kids that are in grad school or getting ready to graduate from high school or obtain their GED and they want to move on, that is a available source to them. Shane, you heard the issue about the drainage. I'd like to talk to you with a little bit more specificity about where that may be located. I don't know if she's still here. And then thank you for the update on 80 and 27, that intersection, and then 80 as a total. 80 and Henry Howes, that intersection, and the update on that. And then one final thing I just want to share with my board and share with anybody here as well is I've been asked to attend a bill signing, a trade agreement signing at the White House in the East Wing tomorrow. And so President Trump, his staff have invited me up. It's kind of crazy. I don't think they know I'm a registered Democrat, so y'all don't say anything. This will be the 6th time in a little less than 24 months that I've been in front of the president, and so I think you should take advantage of that opportunity. Whether you're a Trumper or you're 100% anti, I really don't care. You can tell me you hate the idea, or you can tell me you love it. The fact is it's the highest office in the United States of America, and I'm going to honor the opportunity. And I just want y'all to know as a community, I truly appreciate the opportunity to work on your behalf. I think nights like tonight and nights like last night, is how we get to a common ground that works for everybody. And I just look forward to working with you all on this stuff. So thank you so much. Appreciate it, Mr. Chair, for the time.
Thank you. Again, I'm going to close out, Mr. Parker. I got a few things for you, and I can do that at a later date. They're simple questions. Helms Road. Yep, and the other simple one's going to be the signage on 14 Road. I got quite a few emails in the last little while asking about the signage for that road. We talked about getting the lighted signs to, tell you what your speed is and what you're supposed to be, and rather than the rumble strips that tells everybody in an area how fast you're going.
Contract, in regards to Helms Road, the contractor's waiting for the signal components to come in. He
Yes,
told
sir.
me that they're anticipating mobilizing at the end of February, 1st of March, and staying on it until it's done.
Okay.
So it'll be probably end of April.
Very good.
1st of May, maybe somewhere in there. That was based on the latest update from Ajax.
Okay.
And then regarding the signal components, we were waiting on the final change orders from KCCS. We've got, I can't remember if it's 39 or 49,000 coming back in the stop dollars.
Right.
I originally told you we were gonna put it with a miscellaneous resurfacing bid, but then I realized afterwards, when we were preparing the bid document, that there's stop restrictions that we don't wanna impose on the miscellaneous resurfacing bid, so we're doing a separate bid totally for that project, for the signs. We got the plans already done.
So any idea on that
No,
time-wise?
we haven't issued it yet, but I'd say probably 3 weeks we'll be issuing it.
Okay.
DOT will need to review the bid documents and stuff since it's with their funding.
Okay. And just in case you missed it a while ago, we got an attaboy too.
Yeah.
Well, they said the roads were torn up on the weekend and fixed on the next day, so we got an attaboy too. Very good, Mr. Parker.
Okay.
We're about to close, so.
I just have a real quick question, Mr. Harris and Mr. Shane. It had to do with the trucks and cars that do 70 miles an hour up and down that street. And if it was possible, it would have to be for future discussion, but to place a few stop signs, maybe to keep the traffic down from getting up to 70. I'm talking about just in a few places like Arcadia, Homestead, Lakeview, Panama.
Or speed bumps, maybe?
No, I think speed bumps would be destroyed. I think stop signs would be fine. If you want, if they pass a stop sign, they pass a stop sign, but if up for summer ice season, it's gonna be a serious issue for them.
Yeah.
And I think it would be something to consider, I don't know, maybe a few of those, triangles with the stop sign is, what's coming up, that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, the speed bumps, to be honest with you, is more like a suggestion.
I think speed bumps.
I've got about 10 of them down the road that Mr. Harris so politely gave me.
I'm talking about stop signs.
No, and I'm just telling Commissioner Swindle, I watch semis, I think they challenge each other to see who can get the most air.
Well, I think it would be destroyed pretty quickly. And the other thing is if there was
I
some
wish.
type of way that we could go to the engineering department to get a little bit of fill for the woman that's, for people.
We have to